Yo, Shortbox Nation. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back for another great episode. Well, it'll be a great episode. I know I'm kind of leading ahead calling it great, but you know what? I got a good feeling about this because I know who the guest is. But if you're new to the show, welcome to the show. My name is Botter, and this is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show that brings you top-tier conversations and interviews about comic books with the people that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making them. This is episode maybe 420 or 421. I'm not quite sure what episode number this is, but it'll be in the 420. By the time the audio comes out, I'll have it figured out. Video viewers, look, this is the behind-the-scenes stuff, all right? But today I've got a guest who has been taking the industry by storm with her intensely powerful inks, her incredible eye for detail, and total visceral style for composition. In short, she makes killer artwork, and she's on a fast track to becoming a household name when it comes to comics. Her name is Maria Wolf Lopez. That is her real name, a real badass name. But she's better known by her online handle, Maria the Wolf. She's a Chicago-based comic book artist and illustrator who has created stunning covers for publishers like DC, Marvel, Image, and Boom Studios. And these covers aren't just your regular run-of-the-mill variant covers. Maria's exclusive covers are some of the most highly sought-after books in the industry. Her unique artwork has recently also graced the covers of series like Thundercats, Something is Killing the Children, and Transformers. It seems like there is no series that has not had some sort of Maria the Wolf involvement or exclusive variant cover. She's getting big, right? You got to get in on this while you can, and that's why we've got her on the show. She's also got work on upcoming titles like She's also got work on upcoming titles like Creepshow, Joe Hill's Wolverton Station, Spider-Punk Arms Race, Action Comics, and Superman all on the horizon, so be sure to check that out. She's on the show today to talk about some of her most sought-after covers, as well as how she made a name for herself in the industry and what projects lie ahead for her. Shortbox Nation, without further ado, let's finally welcome and give it up for Maria the Wolf. There we go. Yo, Maria. We finally made it happen. Yeah, we're giving you all the applause. It's just due. Just due. It's so nice to talk to you again.
Yeah, it is. I always, I like talking to you. I like to talk to a lot of people, so I just don't know when to shut up. That's pretty much it.
That is one thing I noticed online in response to what are people saying online about Maria? And it was like almost a unanimous thing of, she is so friendly. If you meet her at a convention, she'll, give you the time of day and the attention, and it feels genuine. So you got a lot of fans out there, for lack of better terms.
I just try to make everybody a part of my life, and I'm a firm believer of giving 100% my true self, and that's how you know if you like me or not, because you either think I'm crazy, and you'll leave me, and I'm like, oh, cool, or you stick around because the next time you see me, what adventure I got myself caught into, so. It's good. It's like I said, I try to be generally who I am, try not to pretend to be anything I'm not. And you get some generally real people who respect you and like who you are. So
well, you got a whole legion of them. You got a whole cabal of them. You know what else I found during my research is a phrase that just kept popping up in a few different articles and websites, and that is the Wolf Renaissance of covers. Did you know that that you've spearheaded a renaissance of comic covers out there?
Renaissance?
Yeah, I kid you not. I found it on 2 or 3 websites that use the phrase before and after the Wolf Renaissance of covers. And at first I was like, wow, that's a very interesting phrase to use. But in a way, I mean, look, your name is hot out here in the streets, all right? People know Maria the Wolf, and I guess, you know what, I think there's a little bit of validation there, but I want to hear from you. How are you feeling about your career? Does it feel like, this is, your moment? And, I guess overall, how are you feeling?
You know what? That's a really good question. I do feel that way, right? It's funny, though. I do and I don't. People will tell me, oh, man, you're so famous, or oh, you're going to be big, and I'm always like, I'm just here right now. I'm very grateful. I didn't expect it to go so fast. That's the
Hmm.
one thing I will say that. I came in, I did covers. I used to be an interior artist. I found the love more in cover work. And, my buddy Marcuson, who did By the Horns, he was the first one to hire me for my first professional
Oh,
cover
that's
work.
cool.
And I kid you not, it was just that cover. And then I kept posting artwork online, and within less than a year, Marvel contacted me, and
Hmm.
Marvel said, "Would you like to do a cover for the Women of Marvel?" Which I did my Magic cover, and that just escalated like crazy. Right? It's just, I was getting posts from people like, "Oh, look what." One of my buddies who does all the collecting comics and stuff, he showed me a post from Japan. One of the shops in Japan showed one of my covers, and it was advertised, and I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
wow, that's a real big thing
Hmm.
once you go international as well too. And I mean, from there it just skyrocketed. It really did, and it's really fun to see that people. So I always tell people that I became the contradiction. What I mean by that is, you get a cover, everybody does it, and you're like, oh man, I hope this cover looks so great. I hope it looks like the inside, right? Everybody does that, right? We all want that cover to look like the inside, and it
Hmm.
never does, right? And I used to say that too when I was younger. I used to always go in the comic shop and be like, man, they never look like the inside. And as I became now the cover artist, and I'm like, oh my god, I've become the contradiction. And it's funny because I went to it was with my ghostwriter.
Hmm.
I went to a shop, and the guy right next to me who was picking up the cover had said that. He's like, "Oh man, this is such a wicked cover. I hope that the inside looks just exactly like the."
Gotcha.
And I was like, over here, I was like, "Oh no." I was like, I'm trying to ruin you. It's not.
Yeah.
But that's the thing too. It's just I'm just very grateful. I'm very
Hmm.
blessed. I tell everybody, people will tell you it was my talent that got me here, and I'm gonna say it really wasn't. It was by fans. It was by people who believed in me, and it was
Hmm.
people who gave me a chance. And that's where it is. The Thundercats by chance. Marvel took a chance on me. DC now has taken a chance on me, and it's all chances where people who enjoy my work or have a nostalgia for the style I do that are just like, yeah, it's something a little bit different. It's mixed with lots of love. You could tell it's mixed with lots and lots of love.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know?
Look,
So
you don't have that many lines in a piece of artwork without putting in hours over a drawing board. And I mean, on average, how much time would you say does it take you to create a cover? Or I guess, does it differ, like the amount of time you put into a cover versus like a commission, or other type of art? Like what is the average amount of time you're putting into a body of work?
well, if you do not, I tell people it takes me about 2 to 3 days to finish a full
Hmm.
cover, and then an extra day just to clean it up on Photoshop and make it look nice and even. Because I'm very anal about my work too, as you
Hmm.
can tell. So most people they'll just they calculate the structure and they'll get the thing done and they just
Hmm.
scan it and send it over. No, that's not me. I don't calculate. I just throw it in there. I add more, then I scan it, put it on Photoshop, and I'm like, you know what? It needs more. And that's what happens. That's why it takes me just a little bit longer because I'm just like that. So it's funny, whenever you see my original artwork, you'll see it full scale. I take up the whole piece of paper. And then when I put it digitally, I'll add like an extra 25% more. So people are just like, oh, this is not in the original. I'm like, no, because I'm crazy. I added more. But
what
yeah.
what are your tools of preference? Because it sounds like it's probably a mix of traditional pencils and inks, and then you mentioned Photoshop. Like, do you live in both worlds, or do you prefer one?
One is more than the other. Traditionally, I am still a traditional artist. I use my zebra brushes, I use my dip pens, I use brush pens, I use microns, um, highlighters, all these kinds
Hmm.
of things. I'm more of a traditional. I like the smell and the feeling of paper. It is something, that's one thing you can't take away.
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, Photoshop is just as great. But I always tell people, but in the end of the day, I make a second income out of that. So when people, and it's funny too, as the comic community is getting bigger and bigger in its own way, everybody's like, well, I'm going into traditional because it saves me money, right? Or it's faster. Yes, it is. Don't get me wrong. It's faster. It saves you a lot more money. It's
Wait,
cleaner.
and if I can interrupt, in what way? Like, I would almost imagine digital would be faster and more cost effective.
No, that's what I'm saying. It is.
Okay, got it, got it.
It's faster. It's cleaner. You save more money. But there's a pro and a con to everything, right?
Hmm.
So when you go more into digital, and whenever people tell me, "Oh, well, I'm going to be more digital," I never argue that. I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead to digital. So you go do whatever you want, make your money. That's it. Make your life easier, right? Because at the end of the day, there'll be very less traditional artists. So
Oh,
we're on to
okay.
digital because now
Yeah.
collectors are like, "Oh, well, there's not a lot of traditional artists." Exactly.
Huh.
So where does all that extra money come from? Right? From all the collectors. I
Yeah.
never see people
Yeah.
like, they're like, well, digital is better than traditional. I was like, yeah, sure,
Huh.
okay. Go do what you want to do. At the end of the day, I'm going to sell this cover for like $4,000. That's the extra income I get. So,
Damn, there is a mad financial genius behind that big ass smile that you
so
always wear. I see
it's
you. Okay, cunning.
business. It really is. And that's why I said, too, like, the thing about comic books in the world you come in, whether you're doing interiors, whether you're doing
Hmm.
cover work, anything, it's all business. If you understand how to sell yourself in the right way, sell your work, because remember, your art's your art. You are the business, though. You embody your business, so you gotta know how to. I always tell people, I go to conventions, I see somebody drawing nothing but like My Little Pony, right, or Winnie the Pooh, all these other crazy characters. But they're making bank, right? They're making money. Why? Because they just knew how to sell the business. That's all it
Hmm.
is.
So,
So,
so I guess
yeah.
for you, what are who are some of your inspirations when it comes to not only artistically but also business wise? Because I'm getting, I guess that's where the wolf part comes into the name. Like you're the wolf of comic book, the wolf of the comic book industry. Um, tell me who are some of your inspirations when that perfectly represent that perfect kind of amalgam of artistic and business.
What I would say, the one who I've been watching a lot, who makes really good, is Daniel Warren.
Yeah,
Daniel Warren knows really, but
that
not
he
just him
does.
too. Um, yeah, his name just came out. Um, McFarlane. McFarlane's
Oh
also,
yeah, OG for sure.
and that's the thing too. Like you look at these guys and you're seeing, well, how are they making an empire, right? And
Mhm.
it's well, they're not stupid. They know how to sell their work, right? They know how to buy licenses. They know how to do their own stories. They know what to own, what to sell. And that's the thing too. Like you have to know those things. I would say though, they're like the top tier of like how it is to own yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
So I guess where do you and that Maria? I usually have like an outline I want to go, but I'm enjoying where you're taking me. So I'm
Okay.
going. I'm gonna take this ride with you. So I usually save this for the end of the episode, but since we're on this topic, I guess where do you see yourself in like 5 years? Which is such a mundane question, but it sounds like you're studying. Like the Daniel Warren Johnsons, the Todd McFarlanes, and you're conscious of things like licensing and looking at the bigger picture. Like, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? Like, do you want to? I guess I don't even want to put words in your mouth. Like, yeah, just what the question as is. Like, where do you see yourself?
That's a good question, right? And I forgot to mention, Peach Momoko is also a really good business person.
That she is, yeah.
Her husband knows really how to, and her manager too.
Hmm.
Like I said, the big heavy hitters, you got to just see what they're doing. But right, so I had that question too. It's like, damn, where do I see myself in 5 years from now? Because this is now my fourth year now being with Marvel and in
Hmm.
the industry itself too, and it just keeps getting higher and higher every year. So I'm very, very good. I keep getting tons of opportunities,
That's cool.
and it gets to the point where I'm just like, and people make jokes of that. A lot of my comic buddies are like, "Oh, woe is me to have so many jobs, and I have to, deny them because I'm so famous." I'm like, "Look, man." I'm not a jerk about it. It's just like I just have way
Yeah.
too much
There's
work.
only so many hours in the day.
Right, and I don't get me wrong. There's so many things that I want to do, and not just that too. Like I have to watch my time. I'm not. Here's
Hmm.
another thing too. I'm a kind of person who doesn't care about time, but I got in trouble with that with a lot of companies who are just like, you got to give it to us on time. Not
Hmm.
on time, no money, no job. You got to change those bad habits, right? But going on a different direction. But yeah, 5 years. My goal, I kid you not. And people will say, oh, that's not a big thing. I would really like that. I would like to get a Ringo or an Eisner one day. That's the main goal. It's just to, it's hard. It's hard. You gotta prove to the world that you're worth it, that you
Hmm.
put a lot of time into it, that you are different, and that's why I'm really grateful too. It's that people like my style. They like what I do. I always get complimented. Oh, it's giving me that '90s look, a lot of Asian style, a lot of tattoo style,
Hmm.
and I'm grateful that Marvel allows me to do it that way because I've had a lot of friends who work with Marvel or DC, and they left them because they're like, oh, well, they only wanted me to do somebody else's style.
Hmm.
And I was like, ew. I couldn't imagine somebody tell me like, yeah, I need you to draw like Jack Kirby or something, somebody like that. Because that's not who I am. That's not. They did their own thing. They're famous for their own thing.
Hmm.
I want to be known for myself. So the goal is, I would like to get even nominated would be cool too. To be known that people are watching you. They want to see you succeed. That just goes great on your portfolio.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I was talking to I was talking to someone else for another episode, and they, like the Eisners are the I've always heard it like either the Grammys or the Oscars of comics, but regardless of how you feel about awards and like whether they truly represent the culture or the zeitgeist. I do think as a creator, it would be cool to have that recognition, that industry recognition. And unfortunately, like in comics, the Eisners, the Ringos, like those are the two big ones. So why not strive to get that? I guess my question is, do you want to be recognized for your cover art, or do you have bigger aspirations to like start doing more interiors and get into storytelling and those other aspects?
Well, that's also with the 5-year plan, right? So
Okay.
I would love to be first recognized for my cover. I love cover work. I started as an illustrator. I
Hmm.
love designing characters. And that's the cool thing too. Like when Marvel gives me a character, they let me tweak them, and that's the best thing out there. Because most people
Yeah.
stay, you tell them, hey, draw Sabretooth. They're gonna do the original,
Hmm.
80s, 90s look of Sabretooth. You tell them to draw Wolverine, they're gonna go the same way. And every time they give me a little character, I always tweak them in a certain way that it's my style and what I want, what I portray. Good example was Magic. When I did my Magic cover, I saw, she has her little short shorts, her one giant armor hand and the
Hmm.
sword, right? And I was just like, oh, I see Magic as like a Final Fantasy like dragon armor, and she's like the big old giant chunky legs and like demons around her. Like, oh, that's the fun part of that. Originally, I wanted to be a concept artist for video games, so concept art started mixing in with all my
Hmm.
cover work. So that's why if you look at a lot of the characters, I've always altered them to a style I want to as a concept art. So
Your style, to your credit, your style is truly like unique. I mentioned that in the intro, but it truly is unique. Like you could tell a Maria Wolf cover from any other comic book out there, and I think it's just the amount of detail that you put into it. Your compositions are really like in your face. Like it, I guess in your face is probably the best, a good phrase I would use, and visceral. They just ooze like they're bloody. They're sometimes very clearly bloody, and then sometimes even if they're not, if there is no blood on the cover, it's just like a bloody, just in your face, tough. There's a lot of attitude to it, and you could tell that you put a lot of effort into what you do. I mean, obviously you said you're taking 2-3 days, but there is a style that is translated across every single cover that you do, where they still have their own uniqueness, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, the amount of detail here, that's a Maria the Wolf trope right there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's the fun part too, because I love when people come by. I was like, "Oh, I knew this was your cover." I was like, "Well, how did you know?" The teeth. I was like, "Oh, the teeth."
that's a good point. You draw some sharp ass teeth.
Like, oh,
Yeah,
look at the teeth, and then they're always
deadly.
staring at you, right? Well, and that's the thing too. Like,
Wow, yeah,
what?
you know what? That is a good point. Your all of your covers have a sense of eye contact. Like they're just
Right.
looking at you in the soul. Like I will fuck you up.
Lit you up. And that's how I go by it too, right?
Hmm.
So another thing too is I tell, well, that's where the business sense comes to it, right? So
Hmm.
everybody wants to be a cover artist. Apparently, I just found that out. Everybody wants to. It's an easy job. You're not like
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed. It's like, hey, get a cover or two done in a month. Oh, that's simple, right? But even though everybody wants to be a cover artist, that doesn't mean everybody knows how to be a cover artist. Just like
Hmm.
not everybody is really good in interiors, right? Everybody's good with one project or other. You don't need to be great at everything. But if you're good at one thing, you better be damn well good at that part, right? So a good example is when I tell people who want to get into the cover world, I always tell them, well, think of it this way. Every Wednesday, let's just say 100 comic books come out, right? Let's just say that the average comic book buyer can only picks up no more than two or three. Maybe even one at that, right? So you're against 100 other people. So you better really stick
Hmm.
out so that you can sell. So I guess I've been doing it right because every time, I'll see a cover and it sells. And the best part is that I'll see my cover next to a Peach Momoko cover, and
Yeah,
people are sending me like, "Oh, I bought these two covers," and I'm one of them. And I was like, "Oh, okay,
that's a
good."
big honor, huh?
And that's a really big thing too. Well, that's where I'm saying with the 5 year thing is, I just I've had this. One of my teachers, Jill Thompson, had told me, "Where do you see yourself?" And what do you want out of this? And I had told her very honestly, I was like, well, I could care less for the fame and the money. That's not what I did this for. I did this because I love the passion of
Hmm.
art. I wanted my name to be known. I want it so bad that I could walk to any convention and everybody knows my face. They don't even need to go to my table right away. They could just go, oh shit, it's Wolf. And and that's happened. I kid you not. I've gone to conventions and I follow a lot of indie artists, and I'm over here like, and of course I'm buying Wolf merchandise. So somebody has like this cool werewolf, and I'm buying a sketch, and they go, "Are you Maria Wolf?" And I'm like, I didn't even introduce myself. Yeah, and right away they could tell who I am. That's all I want. If anything, is just my name. That's why I said like to win a Ringo or an Eisner would be just an
Hmm.
honor because that just means my name gets well more
Well
known.
said. Yeah, it's
So
solidified. It's solidified in the
right,
pantheon of
it's
comic
now in the
books.
books, baby. You can't get rid of it. Right? I'm
Facts.
part of the
Yeah,
greats, and that's the
that's a
thing
good
too.
point.
Well, that's where the 5 year plan goes. I'd
Hmm.
love to get to that point. I just want to get more well recognized. I want people to know my art, and I want that so I could finally get comfortable to a point where I can start doing my own thing. That's it. I have a lot of stories and I have a lot of concept art, and I've been dying to do my own thing. Don't get me wrong, Marvel and DC are great people to work with, but at the end of the day, um, it's where you're like looking at you do like 50 sketches of Venom, and I'm like, oh, okay. You do 100 pictures of Spider Punk, and you're like, okay. And I was always an original person. I love doing werewolves, and
Hmm.
I think I told you about my story about Crimson Jaw, and you know, and then and I want to do sequentials. I really do. I want to get better at that. I am right now working with Tim Siegley. I'm trying to finish those sequentials. And it's funny, one day, and I have not finished them because I've been so nervous, right? Because my covers that I've been dishing out have
Hmm.
been phenomenal, right? So now everybody has an expectation of you. Now
Hmm.
you're at this level, right? And every cover I do is always 100%. I never half-ass my work because if you're paying me, I'm giving you the best I can of what I have, right? So the moment you stop, you're being lazy, you will be judged. That's just how it is. People are gonna be like, oh, they're getting lazy. Oh, something went wrong.
Hmm.
People see that. They could
Yeah,
tell.
and
You know.
and the comic, yeah, unfortunately, I think a negative aspect of like sometimes the comic community, and there's a lot of things to champion for sure, but there's always with the good comes the bad. I think sometimes fans and readers can be fickle, and
Right.
sometimes a little hypercritical when you start trying, when it's your turn to try something new, maybe like a passion project or something that's
Right.
out of your wheelhouse, because for a lot of people you're the cover artist, like you're the cover artist. So I can imagine the pressure that comes with wanting to do sequential where, it's a different style, it's asking some different things of you, and you're going to be put underneath the microscope in different ways.
That were, and like I had brought back from the beginning, I became, the cover artist, and everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, I hope that looks like the inside too." So now I'm just like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's the one thing I think I've been stressing out, which I'm learning to get better at, and just throw myself in there. But I'm already a naturally critical artist of myself, as most artists are, right? That's just how we are. But I always tell people, you see all these covers I've done? That's because I've literally been like the whip on my back going, it's not enough, it needs to be better, and you can't do that when you're doing sequential because it's all fast timing. Well, we need, 10 pages done by this end of the month, or everything's like this. Well, a cover is like, yeah, can you get this cover done by the end of the month? Oh, okay, So there is a difference, and I think that's where I'm stressing. And I had to go, like last year, I was going to a bunch of conventions, and I was asking the people who were next to me, whichever convention, I was like, hey, how do you finish a cover? Hey, what's your method? How do you get so stressed out? Tell yourself this is going to be the worst thing you ever created, And that's the thing, too. I've gotten a lot of support. So that's a cool thing. I showed in designs, and that's the thing. It's been greenlit. IDW wants it. I'm working with Tim Seeley, who's a really big person in the industry.
And he's big shout out to Tim Seeley because he's also writing my favorite comic book, Local Man, which is one of my favorite comics out there. Tony? So that's really cool.
Well, and that's like with Tony too, right? Because he's working with him. And I'm talking to Tony, and Tony's just looking at me like, what? Like, and that's the thing too. It's just like, that's why I said, not everybody's meant to do everything, right? If you want to be just a cover artist, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. You want to be just a colorist? That's fine too. Like for me, I love Mike Spicer. He's the colorist. Dude, Mike is like freaking killer.
I love how much credit and love that you give Mike Spicer online. Like you'll post the most badass looking cover, and your caption will just be about Mike Spicer and the colors and what he brings to it. And I guess that leads me to a question. You're talking about, the pressure that you put on yourself, wanting to live up to a certain thing and, like having to adjust your style and things like that. Like, but you're also, you have a connection to Mike Spicer. Is he helping you? Like, is he giving you, are folks like him and Tom and Tony, are they giving you like, advice and helping you out in that regard? Because I mean, like you have the ability to lean on like some industry pros. Like, are you taking advantage of that?
Oh, I do, 100%. That's the thing too. You can't be foolish. You can't think that you don't need help. That it's my way or the highway, which that's also a lot of artists too, right? No, even the young artists that come talk to me, I always tell them, go to every artist that inspire you. And show them your sketchbook. Get advice from them, because what I say is different from what somebody else is going to say, right? It's two different things. But I always lean for my friends too. I mean, I think that's what got me the confidence to continue doing this interior work, was because I had to talk to 50 artists just to tell me to put your ass movie and do one page, Yeah. I was so nervous. And that's another thing too. Like, I kid you not, it's and I always tell people this. The type of artist is going to give you with a certain type of clicks, right? So, and sometimes those are some really good clicks. So as you see, I'm super detailed. You see all my art and stuff. So that gets, because of all my detail and the passion of art and what I love to do, puts me with other people who are super passionate and love their work, right? And who are also hyper detailed artists. So like Daniel Warren, that's a good guy. I could go up to, it's always, well, here's the thing too, and I think I've told you this too. I always tell people, I see everybody at my level, right? I could care less if you're famous. I could care less if you're below me. Nobody is above me nor below me. Everybody is at my equal, right? So I gain a lot of respect because of that. So I could go up to Daniel and yell at him, and which I don't want to. Right? But, I had. There was one time I did yell. I was like, you son of a bitch, you don't answer my text messages? Most people would not do that, crap.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh my God, this Daniel Warren. I've gone up to Peach Momoko and give her the biggest squeeze. I thought I was
Hmm.
gonna pop her head. I get to talk to these people.
I,
They
I
need
guess
to
in
learn
that I guess in that same regard, because I know that you are like you are on the road regularly. I mean, before we even hit record, you were telling me that you've got a lot of conventions planned, and you're no strangers to the convention circuit. And you mentioned going to certain conventions and meeting indie artists and them knowing your name. But on the flip side, have you ever had a moment of like just being like a fangirl or a fan or having a like a, oh my
somewhere.
God, you know my name? Like who's someone that you met that knew you that you were completely surprised that you were even on their radar?
Oh, I'm not gonna. The biggest one, and my heart was like, I'm good. I could die now.
Who was it?
Trad Moore.
Oh wow,
Trad Moore. That son of a bitch. I was like,
he's
okay, so
amazing.
I've been following his work.
Hmm.
It's just, I fell in love with him. And then Justin the writer as well, too. And I was, every time he's going to a convention, I'm hoping Tradmore, but Tradmore doesn't do a lot of conventions.
Yeah.
He's a very mysterious man. But when we were at Heroes Con last year, at Tradmore, I found out was going to be there. I was already, like, hyperventilating. I was with my buddy. We were both, like, fangirling. We were like, and I had told my buddy. So we're at the lobby. We're in the hotel. And Trav, this son of a bitch is so majestic looking. I kid you not. The last time I remember I saw Trav Moore was like, he had short hair, right?
Yeah.
And this time he grew it super long, right? And my buddy's like, that's Trav Moore. And I was like, no, that's not. It's just a guy with long hair, right? He's like, no, that's Trav Moore. Tell me why he turns around. He freaking looks like a Garnet commercial, right? His hair is just like going
Looking like
that,
Fabio.
right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit, it's and I'm over here like, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh God, he's a very pretty man. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
most men are handsome, right? And
Yeah.
and just like very toughly. This man is just like, you look at him, you're like, God damn, you're gorgeous.
Yeah. It's like, yo, stop being so pretty. All right? You making us look bad.
I'm over here like, God damn, he's pretty. I was like, this. But I kid you not. And so
That's
I'm
funny.
over here with my buddy, and then everybody's talking to him. Of course, it's Chad Moore, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to just take a picture. I want to have evidence that I actually saw this man before he disappears into the cave and never like shows up again, right?
Hmm.
So we're freaking out. People are talking to him, and we're like, okay, we'll wait. And this kid literally just comes between me and my buddy and goes straight to Trad Moore. Like nothing. And he's like, oh my God, I've been a fan. And he's taking pictures. And me and my buddy are looking at him like, son of a bitch, if this kid could do it, we can do it too. So we go up to him and, we're both talking to him. We're talking about our work. And luckily I had my original art that day. And Trad goes, oh, can I see your sketchbook? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. My portfolio of all my covers. And he's going through it and he's talking about it. And then he goes and he sees that Ghost Rider one. And he's like, Holly, oh, wait, you're Maria Wolf, aren't you? I was like, oh.
Oh, shit.
I'm
Damn.
already like, my eyes like got wider or they sunk. I don't know. I was going through so many emotions. And I was like, yeah, that's me. You know my work? He's like, oh, yeah, I saw this cover. This is a really, really good cover. And from that day, I was like, I'm set. I got
Yeah.
to see one of my heroes. It's good.
That's
But
awesome.
great guy. And here's the funny part. So then I had told my buddy too. He's like, you think it'd be weird if I take a picture with Trad Moore? He's like, yeah, you're gonna be a weirdo, a freak, right? And I was just like, yeah, that seems so cringy. I was like, nah, I'm gonna take a picture. I don't care. I'm not gonna see him again, right? So as I go to Trad, I'm like, hey, can I take a picture? All you hear is my buddy go, yeah, me too. Right after, I was like,
Straight
you
fanboy mode. Yeah.
he's just like, well, if she's taking one, I'll take one too.
You gotta pull my leg. I guess I'll take a picture of Chad Moore. Yeah, that's dope. That Ghost Rider cover, and for anyone listening that might not be familiar, it's Ghost Rider number 7. I'll see if I can't put a link in the show notes. That might be my favorite cover that you've ever done. Until
Oh,
until they released the cover for your cover for Thundercats number 1, which is that homage to that X-Men cover. It's a toss up between those two. That Ghost Rider is just it's something about all of the flames in the back, and I correct me if I'm wrong. I think some of the flames even have faces in the back, and And for a character that has his skull on fire, the way you drew that cover, it looks like Ghost Rider is in pain. It's like, man, it is so much intensity. It's like Ghost Rider engulfed in flame, not just his head, everything. And there's something about the way his figure jumps off the page compared to all the flames in the back. It's a beautiful cover. I can see why Trad Moore complimented that, which leads me to a question, because I was listening to one of the very few podcasts or interviews I could find with you, which makes me kind of excited. This is, a full length one, and I get to add something out there. But
New Year, think of it.
Good point.
First
but
one.
but you had mentioned that you're surprised that you have a hard time sometimes finding or getting copies of your own covers, and I was curious because I went on eBay and I was like, I wonder, how they're selling, like how rare they are. And I mean, you've done so much work, and some of your covers go for buku dollars, others are pretty reasonable. But if you had to do the difficult task of naming your top 5, best covers, best or favorite, I'll let you kind of pick, but which ones come to mind? I don't want you to do too much thinking, but like which covers come to mind when you think popularity wise, or just like overall, like, I put my foot in this.
Well, first with the Magic cover, I always go by that whenever somebody tells me what's your favorite. I'm like, I'm biased. My first cover,
Yeah.
My first, because I put a lot of that. That's how I got recognized. Because I told myself, "Oh, I'll give you a cover. I'll give you a cover."
You want a cover? I'm gonna give you a cover.
I'll give you a cover.
Yeah.
You would want to hire me more.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, Maria. We said Magic, not Wolverine. That'll be next month. Yeah. I'll give you a cover, bub.
So I would say that. What was another one that that Battle Beast one? I will say that I put a lot of funness, and that was one of my favorites. I won't say it was my difficult, but it was one of my favorites. Popular one was the Ghost Rider. Surprisingly, I could not believe how many Ghost Rider fans are out there. So I was surprised they even love that cover. I was like, oh, okay. Spider-Punk. I'm always a big fan of Spider-Punk, and I love the fact that Hobie Brown is getting a lot more popularity.
Hell yeah.
Because he deserves it. But what did I do that I really liked a lot?
Here, I've got
there's so many covers.
Okay.
My Soundwave. I will say that one. I freaking love that Soundwave.
Oh, your Transformers one. Yeah, that's an awesome one. You know what? You did you snuck in like a Void Rivals cover.
Void Rivals?
Yeah, and which I thought was pretty impressive. And I just quickly just put in Maria the Wolf variant covers, and I'm filtering it by what sold, and I'm seeing the Sabretooth and the Kraven cover that you did pop up a lot.
I will say that too. I would say the Sabretooth where it's all his nasty teeth and all the gore. I think that was one of my favorites too, because it's very unique. Because you don't see Sabretooth with like jagged teeth and like blood, and I did that. What was the idea by that? The idea was that he was going through flames and his body was regenerating, so you could see some fire still around him. So he looks not just that too. I love Sabretooth. That's my biased villain. But I always felt like Sabretooth was he has to look menacing to the point where he looks like he'll eat your guts out, right? Like he's laughing as he's eating you alive. That's how I picture Sabretooth.
That's a good description. Yeah, it's not too far off.
That's why. So every time, not that one and the second Sabretooth, I just make him look maniac, and I love it. And then, yes, the Kraven, I will say, was also my favorite because I put big giant cats in there. There's a lion, a tiger, and like a jaguar leopard.
You got all the big cats covered.
All the fur. And I started noticing, like, I asked Marvel, too, if there's any villains or characters that have tons of hair or fur, give it to me, because look at Kraven's, that big fur pelt he has. It's massive. It's so freaking huge. It makes no sense. But I like that. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've got a preference of things that you like to draw. It sounds like you like, if they've got fangs, the more blood and gory. You mentioned like the furs, the cats. Is there anything that you don't like to draw?
Well, that's a good question. You know what? No, there's not. Buildings. I was like, I try not to put buildings in the background, even when it's Spider-Man. I make sure like he's somewhere natural. Well, like when I did the
Wow. You know what?
yeah,
I don't think I've. Yeah, you know that is another element to. I think another signature to your style is that for the most part they're either full body shots or very like mid shots and close ups. You don't do a lot of like you said buildings or industrial or like kind of settings in the. I mean,
like that's already inside the
hmm,
interior. So to me, it's like remember
hmm,
you have to the focus point is the character, right?
yeah,
So Marvel will give me characters that like what's his name, Snowguard. That's a good example, right? Most people don't know who Snowguard is, right? It's my job as a cover artist to convince you
hmm,
to pick up that comic because the cover looks so cool.
yeah,
So that's why to me it's like, well, you want just really cool shots of Spider-Man or really cool shots of these characters because in the interiors you're gonna already see the interiors of that. You're already gonna see the buildings and inside the building. So I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some really badass covers where like artists the whole city background and like
hmm,
things getting like. But for me, it's like I'd rather have Spider-Man breaking through a shattered glass window from a building, fighting a villain, than
him
making
posing or
him really
something.
right. Because then what happens is that when you do buildings and stuff, well, you're taking away a lot of those focus too because now there's so much detail in the background
Hmm.
and now the character's so small. But how I do my covers, which you've seen, all the characters are huge because
Yeah.
what you want. You want, yeah, I really want this Venom cover because Venom takes up the whole fucking cover. Craven is literally just right there with all his battle beasts, like, with ripped up Spider-Man. Like, to me, it's all about the presentation of that. Like I said, if I did my interior work, yeah, I'd be doing a lot more
Hmm.
buildings, of course. But, yeah, no. Yeah, there's just so many. I've done so many covers, man. I'm just over here like, yeah, I don't know. And that's the fun part
Oh,
too. At conventions, you don't know how much work you've done till people bring piles and piles of your and stacks of your books, and then you look and you're like, oh yeah, I did all.
uh, so
Yeah.
on that topic, I want to ask about the how a cover, how your approach for covers. But just really quick before I
Oh,
forget, I had reached out to my Patreon community, and I was like, hey. I'm getting Maria Wolf on the podcast. If you guys have anything to share, questions, etc., let me know. And I had two comments that wanted to just give you praise. And you had mentioned one or two of these covers, but I had gotten a comment from a patron, Chris Jinks. He wrote, the Joe Hill Wolverton Station variant is incredible. Definitely in
oh,
my top 20 covers of all time. I can't wait to go ahead and buy this one. Which, by the way, which this kind of forced me to go look it up. It looks amazing. So if you're doing, it sounds like you're doing a whole comic book about werewolves with Tom Seeley. That sounds like it's going to be, awesome if it's done by you.
I've done the character designs.
Hell yeah.
I've had fun. And Tim Seeley's really big about like super, super crazy horror. So he wanted these werewolves not to be generic werewolves. He wanted them to be like, arms sticking out and like jaws
Damn.
like this, like really decrepit looking, like half human, and the eyes right here and the
Yeah.
jaws like right here. Oh,
You're like, you're like, hey, is everything okay at home? I just got the
I
script.
love that. I'm a big horror fanatic too.
Yeah.
So like anything like
Hmm.
monstrous is like, oh yeah, just throw that at me. So I was doing a bunch of werewolf sketches and different designs and things that people have not worked on and what we could put into the book. So yeah, I'm happy with a lot of the
Hell
designs.
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be good.
All right, and then the other comment I got was from my guy Mac Jacobs. He had wrote in response to my post. He wanted to know, would you ever do more Daredevil covers? I loved your one for Daredevil in the Echo series. Also, loved the Transformers cover you did.
Oh man, of course. Actually, and here's the thing too. It's like though Marvel will say, "Ooh, is there a specific character you
Hmm.
want, or what do you want to work with?" I always tell them, throw me whatever, because if it's a character I love, it's gonna come out great. If it's a character I don't know, or I'm not really great, I'm still gonna make it look great, right?
Hmm.
Because once again, it's my job to convince not only myself that it looks good, but to convince other people too. But that's the challenge. I love challenges.
Hmm.
I love when. That's why I said Marvel and DC are great to work with, but you'll get used to those characters so much, right? That now it's like, well, what other ideas do you have, right? Well, if you work with other companies, it's so fun because there's these new characters. There's this new story. Who is this? That's why when Creepshow came along and they were just like, hey, you want to do Creepshow? I was like, hell yeah. let's do something different, you know.
Hmm.
And the werewolf one for Creepshow was fun too because which I liked a lot. My dad used to work for the trains. He used to work for BNSF.
Okay.
So I had that was a little the excitement and love for that one was because my dad used to work for trains.
Oh,
I've
that's
been
cool.
around trains. I know how a train engine looks. You know, to me it's like yeah, and then to have the little guy with his little hat, you know, the conductor and go ticket please, and I thought like
Hmm.
this is very very clever of its own way.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if Marvel gives me Daredevil, I'll do it again. And that was a really fun Daredevil cover too, because it's very different from my other covers. That cover is more designy. It's very line work ish. So it's more not too heavy on the shading. It's not more detail on the costumes. Once again, the concept art came in me where I was just like, ooh,
Hmm.
let's redesign these guys, you know. And once again, I'm very grateful Marvel lets me tweak their characters. So
And for the
yeah,
listeners out there, I think what I will do is have a hyperlink to each one of these covers we've talked about so far in these show notes. So if you need a visual reference, I'll have that. But more than likely, I'm going to be cutting a lot of reels for this episode because this is such a this is such a visual. I think kind of the visuals will go along really great with it.
there you
But
go.
so it sounds like Marvel is. Let me take a step back. So it sounds like Marvel and DC kind of hit you up on the regular, and is it? I guess like walk me through the process a little more detail. So they hit you up and they're like, "Hey, what character do you want?" Or is it, "Hey, we need these covers. We need a character for these covers," or "Hey, we've got these comics coming out, and you know, there's availability to do the covers." Like, how do you go about getting cover work?
That's a good question. Once again, well, here's the thing, and that's the thing too. I hate when I go to these conventions because they'll put me in panels, and then I'll have people tell me like, "Well, how did you become a cover artist? How did it all start? Who did you talk to?" And I always have to look at them and like, it just happened. It legit just happened. I kid you not. I got an email. And, you know, and generally who I am, and this is why I tell people all the time be a really good person. Just be generally who you
Hmm.
are. Be very loving, be very caring, be optimistic, and very talkative, as I am. And it leads you to a lot of open doors. A lot of open doors. Not one job that I got was because I applied for it. Never.
Hmm.
Not one job. Never. And most people have a portfolio, right? And I remember I did this breakfast thing, and everybody's telling me like how they got their portfolio, what they're doing, and it was for beginners in the industry. This is when I started my first year. And then they're like, "Hey, what about you, Maria? How did you get all your cover work, and what did you do?" And I was like, "Man, nothing." They're like, "What about your portfolio?" Yeah, I don't got any of that. It was by word of mouth, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for the people. People just come by my table. I have random people that come by my table, and they're like, I like that style. Here's my business card. I was like, okay. Or I'll talk to people, and they're just like, I like you. Here's my business card. I was like, okay, right? Or I'll go to the after parties, and they see me all like tipsy, and they're like, you're really fun. I like you. Here's my business card. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
You know, being personable, I think on top of also just being like talented and gifted, but being personable and on top of your shit business wise, I think I mean, it sounds like obviously it goes like a long way. Like the fact that people that you're enjoyable to be around, and it's like, oh, if I know that she's going to hit her deadlines, I know that she's going to deliver
Right.
quality work. You know, I guess the takeaway I'm getting is make the lives of other people easy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're not a headache for them, work will come.
Dude, I tell people too, like that's once again, it's all the business of how you do it, right? You are the product. You
Hmm.
must sell yourself the right way, right? You want more jobs, you got to do it. So here's like a good thing, like I'm still young in the industry, right? But you'll have all these after parties, right? And all the older artists, they don't want to do it no more. They're like, I've been doing this
Hmm.
already. I don't need to do it no more. We're set. Which they're right. They've been doing this for so many years. Well, their names are already on the freaking list. So they're good. Everybody's gonna know their name, right? But what before that, I bet you they did a bunch of,
Oh, for
you
sure.
know,
Networking and
they had
schmoozing
to
and all
do it.
that.
You have to do it, and I do that now. And I tell people, I don't care if you're tired. You know, I'm tired. I'll sit on my table for 10 hours, right? I'm tired, but I get up, I stretch, and I was like, okay. I was like, let's go drink.
You're gonna force that second wind to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's over here, and I'll still
Hmm.
do commissions and I'll still do
Yeah.
projects. Even after I'm like 10 drinks in, and I'm like, I gotta do it tomorrow. And like people who are sharing a room with me are always just like, they'll wake up at like 5 o'clock, and they'll just see me in the corner of the table, and they're like, "How the hell are you still up?" I was like, "I got commissions." What else you got? I was like, "I got work to do. I have no choice. It's on
I,
me." I should have not had 10 drinks.
so I guess in terms of like the cover work,
Yeah.
how soon are they reaching out to you? Like, how many are they giving you, like a cover a month? Is it like, hey, you? It sounds like you get a lot of freedom in terms of like the characters you get to draw and like what you do. And now, obviously, that obviously that did not come off the bat. Like you had to prove yourself and get a rep. But I guess yeah. Like what is the I guess like how does the process go per se? Like they come to you, they're like, hey, we have these books that need variant covers, or is it, hey, we've got these characters
Right.
we want in a variants?
Okay. Well, so it's two different ways, I guess, for me. So with Marvel, I proved myself, right? I was giving
Hmm.
some really cool covers, and people were buying them, and that's the thing. The more people buy these covers, and I always tell people,
Yep.
share. You gotta share that. I always said, but if you buy my cover, share it. Marvel's seeing everything you do, so
Hmm.
they're only gonna hire you more when they know you're making more, right? So, and the name gets, and not just that too. Another thing, and a good business thing is be friendly with your editors. The friendlier you are, and you respect your editors by giving your work on time, not being a problem, because like I said, some editors are going to be strict, like this, like this, like this. And then if you're that kind of artist who's like, no, like this the way I want
Hmm.
it, and then your editor's going to be like, no, it's this way, or get out, right? That's another thing too. Like for me, I noticed there's a lot of artists who are very like, no, I have to have it my way, right? Well, then that's how you don't get a lot of jobs, because then your editors are like, okay, we'll just hire somebody else who's going to do it the way we
Yeah.
want it, right? So that's why I said, here's a good example. Every cover I've done, I've never wanted that cover. the,
Damn.
the
That's some
thumbnails
honesty.
the thumbnails were never the ones I wanted,
Hmm.
and they would always pick the ones where I'm like, this is like the most difficult, or this is going to be really annoying. But they know what sells. I don't know what sells. They know what
Oh,
sells.
so wait,
Right?
so you're sent. So they give you the project. They're like, hey, give us a couple of thumbnails, rough sketches. So you send like
Right.
what, 3, 4 options, and they're like, all right, we
Right.
want you to flesh this one out.
Right. So it'll be like
Okay.
six. Usually they tell me four. I'll throw in an extra two because I'm just
Oh,
like,
smart.
let's see where they do it. So yeah. So but it happens two ways. So they could tell me, well, this book's gonna come out. We
Hmm.
need you to draw this, and I'm like, okay. Sometimes they'll give me more information. I'm like, this is the villain. This is like the side
Huh.
hero. That's cool. They'll give me a story, or they'll give me just 2 pages and be like, yeah, okay, this is what it is. You don't even know what it is. It's just 2 pages. And then
How often?
sometimes,
Really quick, how often are they putting you? How often are you communicating or reaching out or getting a chance to even like talk to or the creative team, like the writer and artist? Like, do they ever have any input, or is it strictly the editor? And oh
it's
wow,
strictly the
okay,
editor.
hmm.
I sometimes the writer will be there. I think
Okay,
I've only dealt like with 2 covers was with the writer, but they didn't give me no information. They're like, "This looks good." I was like, "Okay."
yeah, that
Pretty
was
much what I would say.
hmm.
And then the other part of it too is like, I'll get my editor. My editor's like, "I need a Wolverine cover," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Doesn't tell me what the book is. Doesn't tell me the volume. Doesn't tell me anything. I just need a Wolverine cover. Okay. So that's probably the funniest thing out there is my Wolverine and my Sabretooth, and there's another cover too. They were just random emails. They were just like, hey, we need a Wolverine cover.
Hmm.
Okay. And I was like, oh, okay, you need a Sabretooth one. Oh, okay. I'll show some thumbnails, and there you go. And not until the FOC when they announced, like, oh, look, this book is due, and your cover, I was like, oh, that's the cover. That's the issue. I was like, oh, okay. So, and I kid you not, a lot of these covers I keep doing, they don't tell me what issue it is. Not till the FOC
Interesting.
pops out, which is fine because that just gives my mind to, okay, let's keep going, and just like work, 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 give, next one, work, 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 work. So like a little steamboat right there. So that's just how it works. And that's the thing too. Like I've had a buddy who was like, "How do you deal with like not announcing or showing people the work
Hmm.
you've done? Like he's like, that gets to me. I want to show people my work, and I'm over here like, well, it's because time is money, and I don't have time to care. So I was like, I got to go to the next project. So you just keep moving forward. That's it.
What do you like to do more? Do you like to do cover art more, sketches, commissions, or like commercial art? What do you have a preference?
Say cover work. Cover work, because to me it's like a giant illustration,
Okay.
and that's the fun part. But recently I've been getting video game art, which I've done with Fortnite. I did those screensavers, and that was super freaking fun. And then Marvel Snap, which is also another video game, and that's also really, really fun too. So I'm finally living my dream of being a concept artist because I work with video games now
That's
too.
awesome.
So yeah, and that was the fun thing. Where my dream was just to do video game art, and I couldn't do it. College was just too expensive, and I just couldn't fulfill it. And then one day, these video game companies contact me to make art for them, and I'm like, oh my god, I did it! I fulfilled my dream of doing concept art, or at least art for them. So
And
yeah,
you didn't have to get into student debt to do it. That's the best part.
exactly. That's the greatest thing out there. Well, and that's the thing too. Even with comic books, I didn't get into debt. I paid everything off myself. So
Hell yeah.
yeah,
All right.
it's that.
So speak. Marie, you know what I like about you is that you're bringing up the business side, and I'm not having to like force it because sometimes that could be a touchy subject for like
Oh yeah.
for creators and artists. So I appreciate your candor and honesty about it. And I guess in the same regard, I've got two questions. So I'll start with this one. I think the first time I met you was at Heroes Con last year, and I
Oh
don't
okay.
recall. I don't recall if you were represented by represented by an agency or something like that. I think, and then I seen you at New York Comic Con, and I believe by then you had solidified it or something like that. I say all of that to say that I understand that you are represented by Inky Knuckles, which
Yep.
is an art. How would you describe? What's the proper word? They're a art, not an art agency. They're a
It's the traditional art. So they're not your agent, but they deal with they're your art rep. So
art rep. There you go. That's the word I'm thinking of.
yeah. So they're your art rep. Yeah. They were.
And
Well, I was with them over there at Heroes Con.
okay, so maybe I had misinterpreted. So you've got representation, and how has that? I guess I'm assuming the answer is an obvious yes. It's elevated like my business and my stature and my name. So that is something you would recommend to aspiring comic artists is get to the point where you can be represented by an artist. Like, what is the benefit of it of being represented by an agency and taking some of that control away?
Oh man, you don't know. It takes a lot of weight off your back. It really does. The stress too. I'm a big team player. I love the idea of working as a team. That's why when a lot of artists, I get it when they want to do like the coloring, the story, all that, inking. It takes out the middleman, right? You collect all the dollars, and it's great. But if you have the patience for that, I don't have the patience for that. I have so much work, and not just that too. I like it. I like sharing the work because why take somebody else's job when they know they also can benefit from it too. That's why
Interesting.
me and Mike Spicer do it so well because I'll ink it, I'll draw it, and he colors it, and we send it off. And it's a great teamwork special. And now, so that's with working. Now let's deal with your art rep too. Uh, it's the best. I don't know how to tell you. It's great that I could take all that weight off. I'm not the salesperson. Somebody else is a salesperson. They could deal with the customers. They could deal with the BS. I do feel bad sometimes because Inky Cameron deals with the emails like, "Where's my commission? I've been waiting this long. Where's the art? And he has to always remind me like, "Hey, get their commission done. Hey, be on
Yeah.
this," and that's great. But I don't need to talk to those customers.
Yeah, you could
Somebody
just focus on creating and the illustration.
exactly
Okay.
because it does. People don't understand it. Does stress you out. I always tell people like that's why I'm not doing commissions right now or doing accepting anymore because I want to finish everything off. And then after that, I'm giving all my commission work to Inky. Let him deal with all of that. Let him deal with because it's stressful. People don't understand that. There are
Oh
some
yeah.
people who are great with commissions who are like you, for example. I'll wait because in the end, you'll know you'll get a badass
Oh
commission,
come on.
right?
I am the day that my commission and you know what I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm a post it when it comes in, but I know when it comes in it'll be worth the wait. And Yeah, so I am absolutely ready for it.
Well, you see, and that's it. And then there's some people who are like, I'll show a picture of them drinking a beer, and they're like, "Oh, you have time for a beer, but you don't have time for." I'm like,
Them bastards, yo, that's fucked up. It's like, I got a life, right? Like, I got other paid work. Yeah.
well, and that's the
Damn.
thing too. Like, but
Hey.
that's a
Hmm.
hard thing to do is to get rid of commission work. I've talked to
Hmm.
somebody. Somebody told me, "Man, you must be doing really well to stop taking in commissions." I was like, "Damn!"
Wow.
I was like, "Don't say it." And it's true though. Commissions are a big income for people. So
Yeah.
for me to say I don't want to do it no more, I got to be in the safe spot.
Well
Luckily
said.
though, I am. I'm very grateful for that. But that's due because of Inky Knuckles too. Because like I said, and this is where the business of what I told you, staying traditional is really good because yeah, you could do this digitally, you could get it done like that within 2 days, 3 days, go to the next job, right? But the end of it is that all you could do is sell prints of what you drew, right? Merch or whatever.
Oh, I see where you're going with
That's all you
this.
could do. You could only print it on
Uh
something
huh.
else, right? You could make limited. Let's say even you made limited prints on that. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. You could sell them for $50, right?
But it's not the same
But
as
it's not,
having.
say, as an original piece.
Got it.
So
Wow.
you go and you find these collectors who are all about the art of
Mm-hmm.
the ink, all of the line work, the pencils, the texture. They want to see your process because that's all their life is art. It's a community of people who appreciate art, right? So traditional artists are smart. They can bank on that. So what it does is that you get an art rep. So let's say I got a job. They pay me $600 to do it, right? I did it. I inked it. That's it. Good to go. Now I have the original piece of paper, right?
Hmm.
Well, give it to my art rep. Now that value is higher now because now he'll sell it for $3,000 to $4,000, even $5,000, and he only takes 20% out of it. So then I'm coming home with like
Damn.
$3,000. That's it. And that's the fun part because I'll be working and out of nowhere I see a ching, and it's like it's Inky Knuckles will be like, yeah,
Yeah.
we sold your
Damn.
cover. Here's your extra, and I'm like, that's right, bag it, and just put it to the savings. That is always extra
Yeah.
income. That's why I
Wow.
tell people traditional has its
Mm-hmm.
value. You're not granted. Yes, it takes longer. Yeah, you get stressed out more, but you got to be smart. But I always tell people you cannot be 100% traditional. You need to know a little bit of digital
Hmm.
as well too. That's why I could go. And here's the reason why. Because let's say your editor says, his hands are too big. I need you to shrink them down, right? Am I gonna go back and redraw those hands, or am I gonna go put it on Photoshop,
Hmm.
just size it down, retweak it, and boom, there you go. That's the thing. You need to learn. You need to learn both. There's pros and cons to it. You need to learn both. Makes your life a lot easier. So,
Damn.
but having an art rep is great. But then, I mean, look at what happened. Make sure you get the right art rep because what happened recently?
Yeah.
Oh,
The name of the company escapes me, but there was another art rep company that
right,
I guess was like missing commissions and
right.
ghosting people that had paid for commissions and I guess wasn't communicating with the artists. Like even the artists were in the dark. I don't have the name, but I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, like with them too. When I saw a bunch of my buddies who were just like, I'm not repped, I'm not repped, I'm not repped, and it
Yep.
was sad
Yep.
too because last year they did get repped by them. I was cheering for all my friends. I was like, oh my god, you got accepted. I'm happy an art rep. I'm over here advocating for an art rep. I'm like, you're gonna want
Hmm.
an art rep. Makes your life easier. And then this happened. I was like, oop. It's like, I was like,
Yeah.
that art rep.
Yeah, exactly. Now there's a little star caveat: the right art rep.
Right.
Um,
So do make sure
hmm,
talk to people too. Luckily though, I talked to a lot of my other art buddies and I told them, hey, is Inky Knuckles great?
cool.
How is he? And I asked questions up front too, like if I ever wanted to leave, can I leave? Right?
Wow.
You know what do I get dinged on? What do I do this? So you ask a lot of questions because
Damn.
so here's the thing too, and Inky Knuckles was fun because before last year, the year before that, so 2022, he had messaged me because he wanted to rep me, right? And I told him, okay, let me give some time, right? This is when I was really starting to get really big with Marvel. So this is what I did. Every Marvel cover I did not sell it to nobody, not one person at all.
Hmm.
And it was fun because I was just getting everybody. So when everybody was just like, oh, I really want this cover. Who do I go to? And I'd be like, oh, go to Indie Knuckles, send him a message, right? So I was building up that portfolio, right? That just so that the moment I had a, and I kid you not, I had like 30 covers of them, and I sent them all to him. He sold a bunch of them all
Damn.
within that like month, right? And it's because I held on to them, and people so badly wanted my covers before I became even more famous. And that's the thing too, people are gonna buy all your stuff when you're a beginner because it's the cheapest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta get you before you start asking for like the thousands. They're like, shit.
Yeah, you got to get you before you start adding zeros to the end of that
Right.
price. Yeah.
So and like I said, I got a great relationship with Cameron, and and that's the thing too. Like I trust him enough that I don't. When he tells me, well, how much can I sell your covers? I always tell him, I trust you. You've been
Damn.
doing this for years. You should know how much to sell a cover. Unless I know the cover is worth more. Here's a good
Mm,
example. The Spider-Man ones, the Transformer ones, any of
sure.
the really big guys, I always tell them raise up that price a little bit more because they are worth a lot more than you think.
Damn.
Can't
Mary,
let
you
those
got this
people.
stuff. Go ahead.
Huh? No, no,
No,
you
go.
got, it's like you can't let people buy your stuff for like cheap and then sell it again for twice as much. So get them at a high point before they try to sell you off.
Maria, you got this shit figured out. Like I
Yeah.
am. This is a really fascinating listen, and I've never, I don't think I've ever heard an artist go into this level of detail on the business side. So hopefully, whoever's listening, and if you're an aspiring artist, hopefully you're picking up all these gems. And
Yeah.
if you are someone that is into collecting original comic art, I know that has become like a much bigger thing now,
Well, it's
where
become
original comic art, original pages and panels and etc. I'll have a link to inkyknuckles.com and the Maria Wolf page. I mean, there are some gorgeous pieces on here. I'm
oh,
surprised this. I'm surprised the Craven cover,
this is
is still on
the
here. Yeah, but I mean, like let's be real. What I've seen other covers and original art go for, this price right here, which I guess we could just say because it's on the website, is $37.50. But it is such, and I mean, we're talking like this is the original, right? So it's what on a 11 by 17, I guess, board.
by 17, and
I
it
don't
is.
know.
And here's the thing too
It's
about my covers.
insane.
When I saw my original covers, people don't realize I draw the whole page.
Hmm.
Because most people follow by the guidelines, the line
Yeah.
work, the cutouts in them.
Hmm.
I don't do that. I take up the whole page.
Damn.
And so I think that's why people like to buy those covers too, because they could frame that and it's just a whole artwork. It's not little. It's not tiny.
So, all right, when you consider everyone that is represented by Inky Knuckles that is also in your class, for lack of better terms, who would you say that you're the closest with among the Inky Knuckles roster?
Ooh, God, I gotta pull out. I don't want to say their names wrong. Marco. There's a guy there named Marco. Well, in Heroes Con, that was the first time I got to meet all of them.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Man, they were some really freaking awesome dudes. Like, I kid you not. Like, I
You
was
know,
like,
I see my guy Kevin Anthony Catalan on here, who I got to meet for the first time at last year Heroes Con. Who I think between you and him, like people need to pay attention to Catalan for sure.
oh yeah, oh man, I didn't. You know what? You need to pay attention to all of them. That's the thing
Yeah.
about that too. It's like, and the thing about that, what I like about Inky Knuckles compared to other art reps, is if you look at the artists that are there, he's repping really unique artists. Like these are the people like, because you get like Felix is very traditional, right? Like
Mhm.
he's getting all like the old school guys that the people are like, oh, I've been following them for like the past 30 years or 20 years. Like he's very traditional. But if you get Inky is of a lot of the modern inkers. The ones who are like, let's make these characters look like obscured and huge and like in a unique style. And yeah, man, they're just all freaking great. I go on.
Okay, so all right, I got my second business question is that and this is what I like about you, Maria, is that you didn't send me any notes of like, hey, I need to promote this, or let's for the most part I think you were just like, let's do this, like wherever you want to go. But I did not know that you were doing I guess what is it, a CGC signing come April. I noticed that they had a web page for it. It's taking place, correct me if I'm wrong, Friday, April 5th. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So you're doing. I guess they're doing a signing. Their CGC is telling everyone, hey, if you want your stuff signed and you don't live in the area, get it to us by April 5th. And I wanted to ask, like, how are those type of opportunities, like, I guess, like, financially and just overall experience? Like, well, I guess this will be your first one, so you don't really. I guess you can't really base it off of. But what do you
What
think?
they told me, it's really good. So
Hmm.
what they do is like you take up all these like requests, right? As long as you get them done, then literally CGC is just like, here's some money.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
So it's just like, and dude, all I'm doing is like signatures,
Yeah, and remarks and all that.
and remarks, and those are little things, but they're like, yeah, just
Hmm.
get it all done at a fashionable time, right?
Hmm.
And you know, and you're good.
Now is that keeping in mind maybe the aspiring comic artist that's listening, was that an opportunity that came to you, or did you have to seek it out, or did Inky Knuckles help facilitate that?
Once again, it came to me.
Oh
That
wow.
was but that was with my buddy JJ. He does JJ's comics.
Hmm.
He's been in the industry for very long, but once again, this is why I tell people, just be yourself.
Hmm.
You're a naturally nice person. Do not criticize people. And here's one of my biggest advice I tell people. You might hate an artist, as you will. There's always artists out there your skin just crawls and you're like, God, I hope they just leave the industry. Right? It happens, right?
Yeah.
I have artists I do not like, but here's the thing. I keep it to myself. I do not say nothing, and I tell people this: the art community, though the comic community, though it is massive, in reality, it's very small.
Hmm.
So everybody knows everybody, and everybody hears everything, right? So if you say crud to somebody, but he's friends with somebody, and that person was going to
It
give you
gets
a
around.
job, he's going to be like, nah, you said crud about my friend. So guess what? I'm going to get that job to somebody else. That's
Interesting.
just how it is. And I kid you not, there was a job I got, and right away I accepted the email. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I found out who he works with. I was like, oh, if only I had known, I would have denied this job. But because you messaged me, I'll
Hmm.
do it. But if he had messaged me, I'd have like, screw that, I ain't gonna do the job, right? And that's why I say you have to bite your tongue, keep your pride low. Like I get it. Like I said, some people are. No, don't get me wrong. No, there's like actual jerks out there who are like, I hate women and like, down with people of every race. I'm like, okay, now we gotta call that guy out because that guy.
You crossed the line, bro. All right, yo, chill.
Now,
The
yeah,
racism,
because,
racism,
now
nah, that's no bueno.
you're being like
Yeah,
crazy, right? But if it's like,
as
well,
you
I just
should.
don't. Right, but but if you're like, well, I don't like him because all he does is draw this, or all he
Hmm.
does is like, look, there's a fandom for everybody. It's all that. So, but like I said, the CGC was because of good friends, word of mouth, and that's a really big opportunity. That's why I tell
Oh
people all
yeah,
the
it's
time:
huge.
take every opportunity, take every goal. So, as a cover artist too, is like I make sure I get the covers that I know are gonna make big.
Hmm.
Here's a good example: when Daniel Warren did his Transformers, right? The first thing I said was, I need to get on that boat because that's gonna be a really big thing, and it did. It exploded,
True.
right?
Yeah, you are right about that. A
And it
smart move.
exploded. And I knew everybody was gonna draw Optimus Prime, and I said, "No, screw that. I'm gonna do my Transformer. I'm gonna do Soundwave," and it did wonderfully well in New York Comic Con. Everybody was going crazy for that Soundwave cover. Thundercats. That's a good example.
Hmm.
Oh, Thundercats is getting remade. Let's go. What's something's killing the children. Battle Beast. Who's gonna say no to Invincible, right? It's just like
Damn.
if those opportunities come, you need to grab those opportunities. Even if you're tired, even if you're like swamped, you need to try to put it
Hmm.
into your schedule and double down. And you have to learn how to do that. If you're the kind of artist, like I said, I could get a cover done within 2 to 3 days. If you could throw an extra cover in there, that's gonna sell. Like here's another thing that people don't know yet, and it's gonna be in Kansas City. I did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cover. You
Oh
know,
what?
so, and it's going to be an exclusive for Kansas City. So I
Wow.
get to promote that. But like I said, and at first I was too late at answering the email. So my buddy had told me, oh, sorry, all the spots were filled. So you can't do it no more. So I was like, damn, you should have just said yes. I would have just done it, right? And I gave him that leeway. I told my buddy who does all the covers and who gives me jobs here and there, I tell them, whenever you get a cool cover and I do not reply right away, just say yes. I
Hmm.
don't give a shit. It's like, you trust me and I trust you, just say yes. Luckily though, somebody backed off, so the spot was open. I ran. I was like, "Give me it. I'll just do it." I was like,
That
but
sounds
it's
like you're just
all,
gonna be printing money from that cover.
yeah.
That is
Well,
that
that's
is
the
one of
thing.
those.
It's all opportunities. Take every. You have to take the leap of faith.
Hmm.
Life is scary. You know, and we doubt as artists. We doubt ourselves a lot, right? I doubt myself here and there. I was like, can it get done? Is it gonna look good? All these things. But at the end of the day, I say, no, it's gonna be great.
Damn
I
right.
know it. I know it's gonna be great because as long as I love it, as long as at the end of the day, when I draw a cover and I go, yeah, this is badass right here. This is good. I like this.
Hmm.
Good soup. When it's like that, and that's the thing too. There's signs out there, and you got to start seeing those signs
Hmm.
little by little. You got to make friends with people. You got to love what you do. I always tell people, this has to be a passion. If you do not have a passion in this, what the hell are you doing in this industry? Because when you keep chasing the dollar or thinking, don't get me wrong, I'm making money, right? But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, I could care less for that money. I really can. I've had my buddy who told me, he's like, oh, we're going to make you this and you're going to make money. I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit about that. I really don't. Because once again, I just want my name to be known. I just want
Damn.
everybody to see me as I walk down the comic convention and go, holy shit, that's Maria Wolf. And I'm like, yep, that's me. I was like, who wants to bring me a beer? And they do. I have a
Damn.
lot of people who's like, hey, here's a beer. Thanks, man. That's all I needed.
Maria,
But
you got such a good head on your shoulders and like really good energy. I think that is
yeah,
one thing that really like captivated me when I first met you was like your energy and just how grounded you are and personable. And I was curious like how much of that comes from like your upbringing or like cultural background. I did notice that on everything that you proudly state that you're indigenous. You're and correct me if I say this wrong, but you're of the Puerto Pecha tribe. Is
yeah,
that right?
yeah.
From the let me see if I can get this one right. So Puerto Pecha, indigenous tribe, northern state of Mexico, which is Michoacan.
Yeah.
Michoacan. All right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
You, Yo, look, I have this running joke that I can only say ethnic and alien names correctly. If it's regular American words, I fuck it up, or regular English words, I fuck it up. But like, how much of so I mean, obviously, like your pride of your cultural background is on full display. It's listed on all of your bios and websites. Like, what do you pull from that into like your work? Like, do you pull a lot of that into your work ethic and how you go about your work? Like, how much of it overlaps with what you do, or steers like how you approach opportunities in business?
It's too. It's like I get that a lot. Like when people are like, "Oh, I see you put your spirituality and you put this into your art," and I
Yeah.
look at them. I was like, "Yeah, I guess."
Yeah, you're like, yo, chill. All
I was
right, I'm
like,
just
I wasn't
drawing.
thinking about that.
Yeah,
But
you're
now
like,
that you
that's
point it,
kind of semi racist right there. You're kind of teeter tottering.
see what you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
And it's crazy too because I don't think about that when I put my art.
Got it.
I just engulf
Hmm.
myself in my art, right? So I'm passionate about it. But I do see where people point out like, oh, your art looks very spiritual or has a very
Hmm.
spiritual, very aliveness to it. And I'm like, maybe that's just because that's how natives are, right? We're
Yeah.
generally alive people. We're great storytellers. So, it's all about we're fierce warriors in that too. So
Hmm.
maybe that's why all my fierce warriors you guys look at us staring at you like
Yeah. Well, so like, do you feel like I guess is there any sense of pride in knowing that like you are out here representing for
yes.
like for indigenous women, like indigenous women that happen to be working in comics? Because
Well,
let's be real, there is not a lot. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, do you feel that pressure? Are you aware of it? Like, do you have a sense of pride, even if it might not be fully conscious or like out in the
Right.
open? Like, do you?
Well, I don't. I don't feel pressured. I am aware of it.
Okay.
It's a very beautiful thing, and I'll tell you
All right.
why. One, because you said there's not a lot. Look, I'm indigenous and I'm also Mexican. That's really hard. I'm a woman. Woo, we're going for free stuff. So it's
Yeah.
hard, right?
Hmm.
So But it is one of the most beautiful things because I
Damn.
get to go to these conventions and I see other young artists who are indigenous or Latino, who are women,
Hmm.
who are all three. And they go and they tell me, I know I can make it because I see you make it. And I'm over here like, in my
Damn.
little heart, I'm like, ugh, you know. You know, they get
Hmm.
inspired. They show me their sketchbooks. They want to be the next big thing. They have stories, and I make it possible. You know, I was at a convention with this. I was in New York, not last year, the year before that,
Hmm.
2022. And this lady, she was with her daughter, and she said, you know, I did. Oh, when I did Blade's daughter, what was her Bloodborne, or what was her name?
Oh,
Uh,
I'll look it up here. But Blade's
yeah,
daughter.
what was her name? Blood something. Blood. Not Bloodborne, not the video game.
Is it Brielle? Brielle Brooks?
Is it? Oh my god, I totally forgot. Something. Wow. Well, his daughter, right? And she saw my cover and she goes and she tells me, "Thank you so much for doing a wonderful job on that cover and representing, you know, the
Hmm.
black community, right?" And I go on and nobody's there. It's already like closing almost like this is like the last 30 minutes. So it's really quiet. And I go, "Psst, hey, come here." And she's like, "Oh." And I go, well, one, I give her a prick too. But I go on this, you know, it's my job not only to make badass covers, right? But I go and tell her, you could give me a black character, you could give me a Latino character,
Hmm.
you could give me an Asian character, and it's my job to not to make them even 10 times more badass,
Damn.
right? So I don't care who races it, you know. I'm gonna represent them the best they can
Hmm.
be by making them the most badass characters you see, right? And that's how it is. That's how I feel. I'm not gonna be like, oh, it's only natives. I gotta make the natives look good. It's only the Latinos. Like, no, my job is to make everybody look
Damn.
really badass because they deserve it. These are characters that nobody knows about. Nobody cares to know because they're second-rated characters. They're
Hmm.
C-list, D-list, right? That's why when I got those native, and it's crazy because you get these characters who have wonderful backgrounds, wonderful stories, and Marvel and DC are not doing nothing with them, right? So I'm over here. So that's why. A good example I always bring out Snowguard. Nobody knows who Snowguard is. So I made her cover super beautiful, right? And she's an Inuit, right? And I had somebody who was from Alaska who bought her original artwork just so he could display
Wow.
it so that everybody, because he even said there's not a lot of representation.
Hmm.
Right. That's my job, is to represent these characters to their fullest content, to be the badass characters that they deserve to be. So, like I said, I want to do more though. I do feel like I should do more native stuff, get more into my culture, a lot
Hmm.
more too. Because a lot of times too, people don't understand like Native Americans are very different from Central America, Mexico,
Yep.
and South America too. And a lot of indigenous people are not liked over there. They're actually hated a lot too, more than the ones in America. I mean, they're both suffering, right? They're both oppressed.
Unfortunately.
But I do want to tell more of my story and bring more of my characters out too. But like I said, you could give me any race, and it's my job to make them really badass because they deserve to be badass.
Well said.
Because if you make them look really cool, you make them really badass. You're hoping that one day there's going to be a writer who says, "Let's do something with their story. Let's bring them out more." You know, another good example was what was his name? He was a Latino superhero, Raptor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Raptor from Marvel
right.
Comics. Yep.
The guy who turns like freaking dinosaurs, right? I was
Yep.
like, how is he?
Damon Ryder.
There you go. I was like, how is he
Oh,
not popular, right? Do you know how many kids around
I'm
when I
sorry.
was there?
Really quick, because I mean we are on a comic podcast, so
Oh,
the
yeah.
nitpicking is serious. It's Reptile is who you're thinking of.
Reptile. There you go.
Reptile. Yeah.
Raptor. It was like Reptile. That's the thing. Like I was talking to some people. I was like, how is he not popular? Do you know how many kids who would have loved the idea of turning
Hmm.
into a dinosaur? But when I did that cover, I really made him look even more badass. So
That's
it too.
cool.
And luckily, Marvel also puts me in like they put me in a couple of the voices. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I got the Latino voices one, I got the Native voices one, and then I got the Women of Marvel
Oh
voices.
hell yeah.
So I got all three of them. So I was like.
That's awesome.
But that's my job. I go to these
Hmm.
conventions. I show people it is possible to live your dream. Doesn't matter whether the race you are or the gender you are. It truly is the passion, desire. But you have to have those traditions. You have to show people that you can add your stuff and people are gonna still like it. So that is what it is. So
Well said. On the topic of like just kind of personal wise,
yeah.
another thing that I found that you seem very proud to represent is your Chicago roots, which I understand that you still reside in Chicago.
Yeah.
As someone who's visited, I think I visited Chicago like once or twice, and I loved my stay. Anytime someone brings up Chicago, I always got to be like, oh, I loved my stay. How does Chicago inspire you? Like, does being in the city and growing up in Chicago, has that had an impact on how you approach art? As a little bonus question, if I had to go back to Chicago and I wanted to do cool comic book stuff, what are some places I absolutely need to hit up?
Well, let's see. I think all the badasses are in Chicago.
Who are some of the badasses?
Daniel Warren, Tim Seeley's here too.
That's right. Dang, Daniel Warren's
here too. All the cool people are in Chicago.
Get with the program.
Well, I tell people too, like, what I like about Chicago is Chicago is literally California and New York combined. The only difference is that we're cold. That's the only thing, That's why most Chicagoans leave, because they're like, I can't deal with this cold. So they either go to Cali or they go to New York. But what I like about it is, like, the art world in Chicago is still very traditional. I think that's what really works, is that people are still very, very traditional artists. There's still painters, there's still fine art, there's still tattoo artists, there's still comic book artists. There are all kinds of artists out there. Muralists, especially. I have a bunch of friends. But what I like about all the artists in Chicago is that they're all friends with everybody. So, like, I noticed, like, in New York or, like, in Cali, a lot of those artists in their groups stay with only their kind. So only comic book artists will kind of only stay with there. Only in New York, only street artists stay with there. They're friends with a few, but not with a lot. They're more with their group. But I noticed in Chicago, there's a what was it called before I stopped going? Any Square. It was a really cool program where all kinds of artists from all backgrounds would just come together and we would just hang out and draw. That's all we would do. Draw, make music. Somebody's making a t-shirt or a quill on the other side. Like, that was so cool because you're friends with everybody. I have friends that are skateboarders, skateboard designers, muralists, chefs, dancers, musicians. Like, the art world is just very fun over here, right? And everybody's, like, not nitpicky. Everybody just wants to be friends with everybody. And I always tell people, we just look mean, but we're actually really friendly people. And we have the best food out there. I don't care what anybody says.
No, for sure. Chicago is a city of foodies. I think I heard you say that in another interview, and I can definitely co-sign.
That's why none of us are skinny. So.
You know what? Really quick, on that time, I was at a wedding like a few years ago, and we were sitting at this table, and I didn't really know anyone there, but there was like this really friendly dude that like loved to talk, just like I do, and we were chatting, and he had lived in Jax. I think he had just moved to Jax, so he'd only been there for like a year, and he's like, man, I'm having a hard time finding like good food spots. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's this, there's that, there's this. And, I'm listing off the best places that I know. And he's like, yeah, that was all right. That's all right. And I'll go, man, where are you from where your bar is set this high? And he goes, I'm from Chicago, bro. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that explains it. And I'm like, bro, look, you can't expect Chicago taste here in Florida. We got a few gyms in Jax, but come on now.
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, and I kid you not. And then it's like the parts of Chicago, are you trying to be healthy? Are you trying to get, like, really expensive stuff? Or you just want, like, a greasy burger and fries, but it's going to be, like, the best, $8 So, but yeah, no. On places, well, Annie Squared was one of them where you could get along with a lot of artists to just stay chill. I kid you not, we have a lot of drink and draws. So there's, cool. Like, and it's depending on the bar. They always change, but there's a lot of drink and draws, too, which is run by Rocket, if I'm correct. And go to any comic book shop. They're generally really nice people. Chicago Comics. I always rep Challengers. Challengers is the one I go to. They're all nice people. Like I said, I've never really dealt with any bad things. And not just that, too. We're in a world of art. Go to museums. Go to the Art Institute. We have tons of some of the best colleges. The American Academy of Art is where Joe Thompson and Alex Ross was there, too. So,
wow. Damn, you know what? I might have to go ahead and consider getting me a little summer home in Chicago, because one thing's for certain, I can't handle that cold. When I went when I went, it was like right before it got cold, and even then, I was like, nah, fam.
That's
Um,
what people leave,
yeah,
but that's the thing I tell people, like, I kid you not, like, the houses that would be, I'm trying to get a house.
yeah.
And when people tell me how much they're paying in Cali or New York, I'm just like, holy, Cali, that's like literally that's 1/3 of Chicago houses,
Yeah.
So,
So
but because it's the cold, nobody
yeah,
wants to do it. I'm a cold person. I like winter more, so I'm fine.
I'm hoping to make it out there to Chicago again in April for C2E2.
Oh, so, okay.
I've applied for like press pass, and I'm trying to get a panel going there. But are you going to be at
Woo.
C2? Is it safe to say
Oh,
you'll be at C2E2?
hell yeah, I will.
Hell yeah. What is your convention schedule looking like for this year?
Oh, I have a convention for every month.
Damn, every month.
Every month, two. I have two conventions every month, all the way
Get
till
out of here. 2 conventions a month?
month. Oh, this was not. This is a little bit better
Shit.
than it was last year. Last
Hmm.
year, what was it? March, I had four. I had back to back to back to back to back, which stressed the living hell out of me.
I
This
can
time though,
bet.
now it's like two a month. I was like, I could do that.
Hmm.
I could do two a month. I can't do the four, but I could do two. So yeah, I get. I think they're still. I'm waiting on some of them to see if I got accepted or
Mhm.
not. But generally, right now I have 12. So I'm waiting on four more just to see if I got accepted.
What's your favorite convention that isn't the big one? So like San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, off the board. Like, what is your favorite ones to go to? Maybe like I guess favorite or underdog convention that you're like, yo, not enough people talk about this.
Mm, I got two. I know two or three. I would say three. The Indigenous Con one I go to, which is called I think IPX. That one's really fun too. It's because it celebrates
Wow.
Indigenous artists.
Huh.
Literally, whether it's musicians, actors, it's all about Indigenous artists.
Wow.
So
Where's that taking place?
Ohio, I think, or Idaho. It's one of those.
Okay,
One of
got
those.
it, got it.
But they're great. Have you guys ever seen Reservoir Dogs?
Hmm.
Have you seen that show?
Yeah.
A lot of the actors. Did you remember the two twins, the little guys?
Oh, it's been a minute.
Oh man.
Oh wait. Wait. Reservoir Dog. Got it. The actual show. I'm
Yeah.
thinking like the movie, but
No,
yeah,
no,
the
not that
twins. Yeah.
twin, right? Those twins, right? They were there last year, and they're selling their music. I was like, "This is great." They're not. They're in character. That's just who generally they are. But if people don't know this, and I
Yeah.
always tell people this, hang out with a lot of natives. They are the most funniest people you ever see.
Huh.
They're like monotone. Life is just funny to them.
Hmm.
They're just funny people. Maybe that's why I'm so funny, so likable. But that I would say is a really great con. I like that a lot, just because it supports a lot of indigenous creators, which we should do more. And then I like Heroes Con.
Come
I
on.
did Heroes Con last year. Was my first time, and oh my god, I was gonna spend all my money. It's
It's
like,
so good.
dude, it's a convention for the artists. It's not even
Yep.
for the people. It's for the artists. I'm over there fangirling, going to all these people. I found an original. So my favorite artist is Joe Madden and Humberto Ramos. Right, those are my top two.
Good
They both
choices.
share the same spot. But somebody had an original Joe Mad piece with the inks. And I'm over here like, oh my god, I've never seen one up close, right? And I was like, can I just hold it? And they're like, yeah. So I'm over here holding an original Joe Mad, and then I'm holding the inks because it's double-sided. And then I'm looking at how much the price is, and the price is $80,000. And I'm over here
Wow.
like,
Wait. 80,000 or 8,000?
no,
Get.
$80,000.
What is what is the image? What is it from?
It had Spider-Man, Hulk, and Wolverine.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, right?
yeah. I might know that piece because
Probably.
I've definitely seen it. Actually, I can see it in my head. 80,000.
80,000. And I'm
Wow.
over here like, I could take out a loan. We could do this. My
You're like, you know
buddy-
what? I don't really need to buy a house. I could
No,
just
my-
yeah, I'll just rent.
Sure, this is my income. My buddy JJ, who lives in South Dakota, which is another convention I will say too, is a SuperCon. Over there is Sioux Falls in South Dakota, and that's a wonderful convention. I started with them too. I got recommended with Jill Thompson, and if anybody knows another artist I really love, which is my teacher Jill Thompson, who also got me into the industry too. She's a sweetheart. And if you guys don't know Jill Thompson, you're missing out. She's literally the top 10 most powerful comic book artists of all, a female comic book artist.
Hmm.
She did Scary Godmother. She's worked with Sandman. She's done a lot of other comic Wonder Woman. So she's a powerball, and it's crazy because when I went to college and she was my teacher, we just clicked automatically because I'm like, yeah, that's right, we're two gods in the same. We're just gonna rule this industry. But I call her my comic book mother. But yeah, Sioux
Hmm.
Falls I would say is great. But my buddy JJ, who keeps trying to convince me to move to South Dakota, and the reason why is because he owns a piece of Joe Mad art. It's Joe Mad and Humberto Ramos, and he wants a
Damn.
$250,000 for that piece, right? And it's a 2-page spread. It's a double spread, right? And I told him just save that for me. And you can't. I put him lock that price down. I'll have that piece in 10 years from now. But
Yo,
I'll have.
look, Marie, the I guess the not so scary thing is that you are on track to definitely buy that piece for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Um, you know what? You brought up Jill Thompson, and I just realized that this might be the first interview where I kind of did things a little backwards than my
Oh,
usual formula. But that's fine because we hit the ground running. But I want to
yeah.
ask. I guess this is I normally ask this in the intro, but do you remember like your first conscious exposure to comics? Like what made you a fan of comics? Like what is your earliest memory of getting a comic book and being like amazed?
I would say it's through my parents. My parents were both pop culture. I grew up with that. My dad was really into the comic book world. My
Oh,
mom
that's
was a
cool.
tomboy, so they both had the love for it. Which is funny though because my father did not want me to be a comic book artist and feared for me.
Oh,
But they're the ones who brought me into it. I mean, the first thing I remember was my dad. We were at a flea market. We came back in the car and there's this giant bin, and I opened it and it's filled to the top with comic books, right? And I told my dad, "Oh, where'd you get this?" Like, "Oh, this lady, the old story. Her son went to college and she
mm,
sold all her comic
classic.
books." And I was like, "Oh, cool."
You know what? That story is so classic. That could have been me. That could have been my box of comics my mom gave away when I left the house. It could have been any one of us.
Right? Well, his loss, my gain, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's a funny thing. I am reading some of the most adult comic books out there.
Hmm.
It's Spawn. It's Aliens. I'm
Hmm.
reading Hellboy. I'm reading like Mike Mignola's like Batman. Like it is some dark stuff. I'm seeing guts come out and like bloody gore. And I don't think my dad realized like they were all teenager, adult teen comics. And I'm over here like, whoa, that's bloody. Let's keep going. So that's what got me into it. The art right away was just, it was something unique. And then I remember too, like one of the first comic books that I got was my dad took me to this comic shop. And he's like, pick a comic book, whatever you want.
Hmm.
And of course, I'm a kid, and kids like shiny things, right? So I get this foil variant, and it's She-Hulk. It's Sensational She-Hulk. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. It's a silhouette where it's just like it's a green foil. All you see is just green foil and like a black silhouette.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Actually, yeah, I do recall
and
that
it's
one.
a very
Hmm.
famous one, and I got that one, and I thought the comedy was so because she did the fourth wall,
Hmm.
and in that story, I remember somebody's complaining to her, and she just grabs him and throws him off the building, and the somebody killing, superhero killing somebody, right? And it's just like, oh my god, what'd you do? He's dead. She's like, eh. But from that on, what really cemented it was my dad took me to WizardCon before it became Fan Expo. So he took me to Wizard World Chicago, and oh man, I went in there and that's where my
Wow.
eyes blew up like a kitten, seeing you. I saw all the pop culture. I saw the
Hmm.
Ghostbusters car. I'm seeing Batman. I'm seeing everybody dress up. I'm seeing just everything. Everything I'm consuming it. It's like it's like delicious, right? It's all good. To me, it's just like a carnival, right? But for nerds. And I was like, oh, and I want to be a part of it. And it was funny too. And I think I knew I was destined for this because here's the thing, and this is why I tell people: you need to take the leap of faith. You have to follow your gut, and you must be passionate in what you do.
Hmm.
If you ain't passionate, don't do it. Trust me, because you're gonna hate it later on. When I was in high school, my teacher told us, "What? Where do you see yourself? Right? Draw. Where do you see yourself in the future? Right?" So everybody's drawing like what job they are, what they're wearing, and I know I have that picture. It's somewhere in my boxes of artwork. but there's a picture of me, and I drew myself on a comic book table. I had a table
Oh.
at a comic book, and I have a pile of comic books, and I had a little plushie, and then it's just me with a pen in my mouth talking, and it's so funny that that happened because I was just like, oh shit, who would have thought that? I manifested, where I wanted to be, so I became a comic book artist. But even that though, I was still struggling. Remember, I wanted to be a video game designer
Hmm.
because I wanted concept art, but it's very expensive. And then I got into the world of comic books, and I love that too. I love storytelling. So when life throws you lemons, or no, it wasn't even lemons, it's oranges now because I got to figure out how to make it work. So one day, I was in crappy jobs, and I tell people all this time. I tell young artists too, you're gonna go through life like
Hmm.
hell, especially when you want this career. You're gonna go through the shitty jobs, the shitty managers. You're gonna want to like do. My parents wanted me to do other careers besides being a comic book artist. They wanted me to be an art teacher. I told them I couldn't do that because if a kid insulted me and told me screw art, I'd be in the principal office with him because I hit him. So so I would have just smacked him around. I was like, and you see, I'm gonna go to jail. Two, I wanted to be a veterinarian. Once again, though, it's hard. That
Hmm.
was a hard career too. And then I found out I liked animals more than people, so that didn't work out, right? The animals were nicer than the people. So I was like, screw this. And then the last career I had was a welder. So my dad wanted me to work for the trains because he got tired of me just working regular jobs. And he's like, "You need a career," and I was like, "Well, yeah, I want to go do art." But in the end, my dad said, "Okay, I need you to stop being a welder." I was like, "Why?" Because everybody goes blind over time when you
Damn.
start to lose your eyesight. But here's the thing about all those careers: every career would have set me up for life, right? I
Yep.
would have had pension. I would have had
Hmm.
health care. I would have had a house. All these things they would have, but in the end, they would have never made me happy, right? And the reason why is because every career I went to, in the back of my head, I kept telling myself, "Oh yeah, if I become a teacher, I'll save up money to go back to art school.
Hmm.
Oh, if I become a welder or a vet, I'll save up money. The jobs that make lots of money, I'll go back to art school so I could go back." So it was just going in circles. If these jobs were just going to make me go back to art, then why am I doing these jobs then? Just go straight to art, right?
Damn.
Go
Good
through
point.
the debt, go through the struggle, go through all this stuff. Because if you really want something, you're going to work your ass for it. And it's going to be worth it in the end if you put the dedication to it. So one day I came from my crappy job. I was tired. I just flipped up my laptop. I was going through my Facebook. I was like, okay, putting memes up or whatever videos. And the school popped out. It was called the International School of Comics from my one of my art buddies, Anthony Coulter, which does FX. He shared this. He's like, a new school came to Chicago. It deals with comic books. I'm like, yeah, I like comic books. I like telling stories. Yeah, right. So without even thinking, I kid you not, I called right away. Oh, I'd like to come visit the school. Oh, yeah, the principal's like, yeah, we'll show you a tour. When are you available? I kid you not. I did the calculations. I'm like, yeah, okay, I could do this. I could work. I could work twice as much, right? I'll stop buying video games and figurines, and I'll put money to college, right? Because that's the thing. You'll hit a point in your life too where everybody's going up and you're stuck right here,
Hmm.
and you don't want to be here. And you could be like, well, I'm content. I'm married. I got kids. That's great. That's not a bad thing. But if you're a person of passion, desire, and talent, you should not be here. You should always want to better yourself, right? So we went to the school, and there's Jill Thompson. And I've met Jill Thompson before at other conventions for many years. I would always go say hi to her too because I loved her work. I was a really big fan of her work. And class had ended. Everybody left. And she's like, okay, I do your portfolio review. And I'm over here like, oh shit.
Hmm.
Jill Thompson, right? So, and she knew me because like I said, we met at conventions. So she knew a little bit of me, not crazy much. And she's going through my portfolio. And she's looking at every piece of artwork. And she's going and she's telling me, you have you have to be here. She told me that if you let me mold you and follow our skills, you can be a really great comic book artist. You
Damn.
have the potential to be a good comic book artist. But she was just like, you need to go. And what she told me too was one of this, like I said, those are signs. People don't look at all these signs, right? They just go on like, somebody's just giving me a compliment. Take it. Love yourself enough to believe in yourself, right? So she gave me those compliments, and right before I was packing up, she said, "Can I buy this piece from you?" I've never sold artwork at all, not one piece. I just drew. That's it. Nobody's ever bought artwork from me. I would usually just give it away, right? And I was just like, "Oh, you want to buy artwork?" I think I sold it for dirt cheap, probably $50 for, I don't know. She wrote me my first paycheck, right?
Damn.
She wrote it down. And like a little kid, I ran home, I scanned it. Of course, I erased her information. The account number, her
Yeah,
address.
yeah.
I printed it and I kept it. I folded it, I put it in my notebook, and I wrote down first
Damn.
paycheck, first actual amount, and that was a sign. And from there, that school was, and you know, if you ever told my parents, my dad will tell you I never needed that school because I knew how to draw.
Hmm.
And he could be right, but I don't think I would be here without the help of professionals to tell me how to do the business side of comics. Jill Thompson had told me, other teachers had told me. I needed them to give me that information. Like, how do you get from point A to point B, right? Where do you get your prints? How much do you sell them? How do you do this? How do you do that? You know, it's all the business. It's more business than anything, right?
Damn.
So, like I said, after my first year or two, then I did my first convention, which was once again, uh,
IPX?
no, before Fan Expo, Wizard World.
Okay.
I went back to Wizard World. The first convention I went to, I went back to Wizard World. And everybody told me, "Oh, don't be discouraged if you don't sell nothing on Thursdays. Those are really hard to sell." I sold 3 paintings that day.
Damn.
I made my table back. And, you know, the confidence just went up, you know, and that's the thing. Like, for me, that's food. Build up my confidence and I'll keep going, right? I'm like a little engine. Just keep telling me, keep going. You're doing great, right? And then I think the one thing that finally set the mood where I'm like, this is the career. This is what it is meant to be. Not only do I have the backup from Jill Thompson, who I love to death, the next person, which was my top 2, was Humberto Ramos.
Wow.
So he was at C2E2. I had brought my portfolio, and Jill Thompson had told me, "Go talk to Humberto and tell him that I said I sent you." And I was like, oh my God. So I go over there. I'm surprised. Nobody's at his table. He's just sitting there all quiet. And once again, it's like an hour before closing. He's just standing there. We're chit-chatting. He's like, "Yeah, I hate Chicago weather." I was like, "Yeah, everybody does." Yeah. He's like, "It's too cold here." And then, so we're talking and talking. He's like, "Oh, Umberto, Miss Jill Thompson told me if you could review my portfolio." It's like, "Oh, yeah, I love Jill Thompson, you know. Oh, she's great. Yeah, let me see your portfolio." Here's the funny thing, though. And I call it the judging stance of an artist, right? So, and if anybody knows this, or anybody who gets a portfolio. So I put down my portfolio, getting ready to open it. And Humberto gets up from his chair. You see, like he's going to get ready to tell me some shit. Just to break me so I could get better, right? So he folds his hands. I call it, it's the stance. They fold their hands, and they just look down on you. Because they're about to give you a can of whoop ass, right? So, but I kid you not, the moment that portfolio opened, he went from such a staring stance to his eyes opening wide.
Damn.
And he was just looking and looking. And remember, there was nobody there. And as he's looking and telling me what to improve and how to do this and what to do that, they're starting to get people behind me. And more people come. And more people come. So everybody's looking at this portfolio. And Umberto's going more, and he's telling me what to improve, and he tells me what he likes and what to, get to there. And at the end of it, he goes and he tells me, "You're doing really good. I want to see you do more sequentials, and I want to see you here because you have a chance. You can be a really good comic book artist if you put your effort into that." And when he said that, I said, "Thank you." I closed my sketchbook, my portfolio, and tell me why there was about a good 12 people behind me, all going.
Like a movie moment.
Good job. And I'm over here like, you did it, right? That's a big sign to really go into
Hmm.
it, to put everything. And if you want to put the cherry on top, right before I left, Umberto's manager from Marvel comes and he goes, "Hey, before you go, show him your sketchbook, right? This is one of the editors, or I think it was his manager." And then he's going through my book and he says, "Have you ever showed it in Marvel?" I was like, "No, no, no." He's like, okay. Do some sequentials. Here's my business card. When you're ready, come to the Marvel booth and we could talk." And I was just like,
Damn.
whew, whew. So, like I said, those are all signs.
Damn.
And every year it's just gotten better. It's the dedication, from there. There's more to the story, and I could tell more too.
Look,
Um,
Maria, you have such a knack for storytelling. I cannot wait to see what you do with sequential and interiors and doing your own
oh,
story. I think you are about to, I mean, you're already taking the industry by storm, but I think you're really about to like hit a different level when you
wait.
start getting into it. You're a very good storyteller. You're very captivating. That was awesome. I guess the only question I have to follow, like you literally gave me more than I thought I'd get in that one question. But I guess I'd like to know, what do your parents think of you like now? Like you said, your dad was kind of hesitant about you going to the art
Yeah.
world. Like what do they think now of your success and everything you do now?
Well, I'll tell you this. My dad is actually an artist, right?
Oh, cool.
He started off as an artist and he stopped because of course he had children and he
Hmm.
had to, help them out. And I don't know if my dad was ever afraid of for me because he was an artist too. But my dad, he was hard on me. He used to give me, and I know my mom hates when I talk about these stories, but I'm like, people need to know the struggles. My dad, and during high school, would always bring me newspapers of like top 10 worst careers to have, starving artists.
Damn.
Like
He's
he would
trying
just
to.
like
Hmm.
he was trying to break it. He did not want me to be an artist. He just that's why those other careers
Yeah.
came by because he just did not. My mom was always supportive. That I will say. My mom was, but there were times too that even my mom feared. My mom, even my sisters feared. Everybody, art is scary. It is one of, like I tell people, it's one of the most it's the most beautiful things you could do, but it also is like the most wretching careers to have, and it will break you. And only the strong survive. I've seen people who are meant to be artists, and they falter. They don't want to be it
Hmm.
because it broke them. It truly broke them. Um, I mean, like I said, I've been in situations where I'm just like, I feel broken too. But at the end of the day, I tell myself like, no, no, I am meant to be here. This is my career. This is my life, and I am meant to be on that shelf, right, with all the other comic books. But yeah, and it's funny too. So I started doing all these other jobs. My parents were still like, I was miserable. I was very, very sad. And when I had to stop doing art to pay off my debt too, because I had college debt and I had that, but I was very serious about paying it off. And the reason why I was serious about paying it off too, and like I said, guys, this is why it's a business thing. The last convention I did when I took my hiatus was C2E2, and I made a lot more money than I did last year. But none of it went to my pocket. It all went to the
Hmm.
debt collectors. I remember I told myself that day, I was like, this will be the last time anybody takes my hard earned money that I worked so hard for.
Hmm.
So, fast forward, did shitty jobs, paid off my debt. I was happy. My dad and my mom still trying to give me other careers. And then the day I finally paid off all my debt, oh my god, it was great. I had saved some money on the side, and I literally went to my jobs and I told my bosses, "F off, all of you."
Yeah.
Or I ran. I was so excited. I was like, and I used to tell them all the time when I first my last retail job. The first thing that came out of my mouth when I got hired, I can't wait till I quit. And everybody's looking at me like, what the hell's wrong with you? You get 401k, you get, your dental, you get all these things. I'm like, that's great, but you guys are supposed to be here, not me.
That's
And
cool.
so it was a determination. It took 2 years. I finally did it. And my dad was, still trying to give me careers. My mom too. They knew I was sad, but they knew why I was sad. But
Hmm.
once again, they didn't want me to do that career. And then, and I was also sad too because I stopped drawing for a while, so that was making me like go crazy. But right, the day I quit, oh, it was fun. It was the funniest thing out there. My dad was just like, because I would stay up really late too and work on art. I was very still passionate. And my dad was like, I can't sleep, all these things. And my dad's those light sleepers. Like, if they see the light, they're like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
over here like I'm a heavy sleeper. Light or sound
Mm.
is not good to me. So yeah, so my dad's going crazy, and he's just like, I can't do this no more. You got to figure your life. And then I told him, oh, I just quit. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I just quit. Fuck that. I want to do what I want to do. So, you know, then I started getting the jobs. You know, really pushing it, really showing that I could survive with my career. And it was funny too because my dad was like, you know, and somebody pointed this out, and it's true. You know, so I got my first check from Marvel, right? At the time, Disney had owned it, so
Hmm.
now it's like, oh, I got my Disney check. You know, my dad, he was proud. I got my first check. I got the for my first Women of Marvel. My dad was like, okay, you got lucky. As every parent, it's like, okay, it's not
Hmm.
gonna go from there. And then came another check, and then another check, and then another check, and another opportunity, and then over here, and then over
Wow.
there, and then my dad's like,
Ah, you might
damn,
have something. All right. All right.
okay, okay. To the point, I kid you not, my friend. I'm working on artwork, and on the next side of the room, I could hear my dad talking to his family side and saying, "I always knew she was going to be an artist. I always knew she was going to accomplish and be big." And I'm over here
Oh
like, "You
my
son of a
God.
bitch!
Yo.
You doubted me more than anybody, right?" I was like, and it was so crazy. So now my dad's really supportive. But I remember the first couple of like months, it was so awkward to hear my dad be like, "Yeah, great job. It's really good." I'm like, lying bastard.
Well,
And my mom,
like to his credit, you mentioned that he had that artistic background. Maybe he was an aspiring artist, had life happen and all that. But to his credit, he probably is, as a comic collector and reader himself, he probably is fully aware of just how hard the industry is to break in, but also like how artists are treated in the industry. So I can see him wanting to be protective, but I'm
by that, I'll tell you why he didn't want me to be an artist too. Because my dad is from the 70s, and he felt I was gonna be into a lot of drugs and orgies. So,
yes, the unspoken part of being a comic book artist. I forgot about that life.
right, because that's I
Yeah,
had to tell my people I can't afford drugs. It's
yeah. You're
either
like, yeah. You're like, Dad. Artists can't even pay their rent, much less have extracurricular activities like drugs. I think you're thinking of a rock star that is on the opposite spectrum.
well, that's because my dad would hang out with. Because I met my dad's artist buddies when I was really young. They
Hmm.
were the crazy dudes. They're like, yeah, I just came from Cali, and I'm gonna be taking a trip, and I'm going
Yeah.
to Nepal. Like, all these weird things, right? So my dad saw artists as very irresponsible. They were
Hmm.
deadbeats. They never wanted to be with their. My dad's a very responsible dad.
Yeah.
I kid you not. Every time he sees a guy and he's like, oh, he left his kids, my dad would be like that deadbeat.
Yeah.
Work,
Yeah.
scum of the earth, right? So my dad thought that I was gonna be like that, like I was gonna be into like a bunch of orgies and tons of drugs. He's like, I know you're kind, and I'm over here like, what the hell?
Oh my God. It's like, Dad, let me take you to a comic convention right now, and you can meet all of these my kind. All right.
My dad's still old-minded fashion because like
Yeah.
there was a figure he wanted, the $1 million man, the one with the
Hmm.
scope eye. And I paid some money for it, right? Because it's a vintage figure. And my dad's like, "Oh, I would pay no more than $10." And I told my dad, "Let me tell you something. All your figures that you want as a kid, they are by the
Oh yeah.
hundred
Yeah.
and
Dad.
the thousand."
Yeah. Your childhood is now a vintage, which means we
Right.
paying. Yeah.
So then I told him, I took him to a convention recently, and he's over here like, "You guys pay this much for these things?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. It is now a money world. It's a pit of money. People are putting their credit cards down."
Yeah.
That's what I told my dad. Is like, when I tell him how much I sell my art and stuff, he's like, "People are gonna pay you that much?" I was like, "Yeah, they do." And I tell him, I'm the cheap side.
Yeah.
I'm being generous to people. You should see what the other guy's selling over there. A
That's
headshot's 500 for him. So
That's good stuff. Marie, that was a great answer. And I want to obviously I always want to show love, appreciation, admiration. All these interviews, I feel like it has been a good combo so far. And we brought up you brought up just overall your goal of just being appreciated and having your name out there. For the folks that are watching the video version, there's a reason why I'm wearing my Short Box Live shirt from 2023, which by the way has your artwork on the back.
The Batman? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's Doctor
Oh
Strange.
no, it's the Doctor Strange. The Batman one's cool too. If you
Now, there's a reason why I'm wearing the shirt. Aside from being fans of what the Short Box crew does, I mean, big shout outs to Crow, big shout outs to Gene, big shout outs to Zach Armour, who I got to give full credit. They really put you on the map for me. I think for the most part, they might have introduced me to your work before I was even conscious of it. But so I knew that I needed to reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm having Maria the Wolf on the podcast. I think you guys should send in something. So I only reached out to Crow thinking, oh, I'll get Crow and I'll get, Zach and stuff. I think Zach is out of town doing some stuff. But Crow somehow got the whole Short Box staff to send in voicemails for you. So I want to play you a couple of these from the Short Box staff. And
right.
and you know what? And I guess I should have let you know that I'm about to bombard you and get you to blush and or get all mushy. But I guess it just speaks to your goal that you said earlier. That your goal is it's not the money, it's not the fame, it's the respect and solidifying your name out there. And I think when you hear these, I think just how you are about honing in on signs. It's really nice. So let's go ahead and hear some voice messages from the Short Box staff. This first one comes from Crow.
I'm going to be honest. I've met a lot of cool people in my life and in the past few years working in comics especially. But I have to say that Maria is one of the best people I've met. And let me be clear, one of the best people I've met, not just in comics, in life. As soon as we met, she came and hung out with the Shortboxed crew. This is Crow, by the way, Maria, hi. We became fast friends, and we started hanging out as whenever possible. My biggest regret is that I don't live in Chicago anymore because I can't hang out with her more. But I think it's fair to say that I've been absolutely pleased to meet her, and I'm proud not just know her as a person from work, but also as a friend. And for those of you who don't know, because I don't know if Maria will tell you, or she probably will, because she talks a lot, but she works so fucking hard for the people in her life that she loves. She's working hard to make her dreams come true, and she's doing that on top of making all this amazing art.
So that one was from Crow. Big shout out to Crow. I thought that was, I damn near got teary-eyed reading that. All right, and then the CEO himself of Shortboxed went ahead and submitted something too. So this one is from our guy Gene.
Oh, Gene, my boy.
Gene from Shortbox. You are the most talented, hardworking, badass artist in the game right now. And after that, there's no one else quite like you. I just want to say thank you for all the support you've given Shortbox over the years, and I'm so proud to call you friend. And keep being you.
Yeah. All right, I got one more to play you, and this one comes from I haven't had a chance to meet this person, but Natalie. All right.
Hey Maria, this is Nat. Just wanted to hop on here and let you know how awesome you are, which you already know. But I can't wait to hang out with you this May. I look forward to it. It's one of the things I look forward to. You are one of the coolest people to hang out with, and I can't wait to see what kind of feet we get into. It'll be lots of fun. Also, please reply to your texts and emails. You are hard to get a hold of. Yeah, I love you.
Yeah, that's great. All right, and I lied. I have one more. The Shortbox team they rolled thick. All right, I was really pleasantly surprised by how many people Crow got involved to send something in. So I got one last one to play. This one comes from Kevin McCormick.
Where do I start? She's hands down the coolest person you could meet at a show on the road. She's always there with stories to tell you that'll make you laugh hysterically or just shake your head in disbelief. Always down to get into some trouble. If you haven't ever stopped by her booth, be sure you do. She will give you her time and her attention, and she will remember you the next time you come by. Maria, I just think you're the best. I hope 2024 is your year, and I really, really look forward to seeing you at Shortbox Live.
Hell yeah. Maria, what is the key to getting a whole company, a whole staff from a company to unanimously all decide that you are incredible and send such nice words? Like when you think about short boxed, what comes to mind?
I tell people the Shortbox crew are like friends I've known for years. I've only known them for so little, but I can call them my friend, and I would do anything for them. I kid you not. And maybe I'm crazy. Most people would be like, "You're crazy." You don't know them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have a good heart about people, and trust me. And when I like somebody, I like somebody. And they were I don't know if you know the story, but it was funny. I did my first San Diego Comic Con, and I came really late. I didn't know they had Wednesday shows, and I came really late. I was tired. It was hot. I was tired. I was hungry. Usually, whenever it's a convention, like the day of a convention, like I'm taking a flight, I have no sleep. I'm literally running on fumes because I'm so like angsty and stressed out. So I went there. I'm tired. I'm trying to set up my table. They're like 30 minutes before closing. I was like, I don't have time. I just want to throw everything and I just want to just go eat something, right? Find a McDonald's or whatever. And this guy comes to my table and he's like, oh, are you Maria Wolf? And I'm like, and that's when you show your face as a salesperson. You turn around and you go, yes, it's me. Even though in the back of your head you're like, please leave me alone.
Yeah, I just want to go home.
Just like,
My hand hurts.
It's just tired, but because you have to once again be like, hello, how are you? It's like I'm gonna kill you. But it was Crow, and Crow. I have nothing but wonderful words to say about the whole crew. No matter what, any one of them, they what I love about Shortbox is they pick the right people to be the best people to represent that company, and I love it. But it was crazy. Crow comes by, he's like, oh my god, what do you... He's like, I love your work. And I'm like, yes, thank you. He's like, you're so cool. I was like, yes. And then, but he goes and he tells me, what are you doing after this? I'm like, eat, sleep, the basics, right? He's like, you want to come hang out with us and go eat the whole crew? And I was like, I don't care, whatever. I've never been to San Diego. I don't know these people. Most people would take those red flags. I didn't. So we're walking. I'm seeing all the fun parts of San Diego, the nightlife, right? Mm-hmm. And we're walking. We're going through the gas lamp area. Mm-hmm. So we're going. Gas lamp. And then he's like, but I'm carrying still my luggage and stuff. He's like, you know what? You could leave your stuff at the hotel. We'll go eat. And I'm like, cool. We're talking so much, or he's talking. I'm just so tired, right? And we missed the hotel, and he comes back, and he's like, oh, wait, no, it's this way. I was like, okay, whatever. We'll just go back another 10-minute walk. So we're walking. He goes, wow, you're really trustworthy. I could be a serial killer.
It's like, that's the last thing you needed to say.
And to me, I'm just like, hey, you're offering food and drinks. I don't really care, right? It gets funnier and funnier. So now we get to the hotel. And then we were going up to the roof, but there are like no bags or stuff. So he's like, okay. So we go back to his room. He's like, oh, you can leave your stuff in my room, right? So we go to his room, and it's dark. And I'm over here like, and this is where Maria goes. This is the end for her. Because she wanted a free drink and a meal.
You're like, make sure my dad doesn't find out about this, please.
All right. So it's like, just with a stranger's hotel room. He's really great. He's just like, yeah, just leave your stuff there. He's like, I'm going to get changed real quick. I was like, here it is. This is where... He just puts on his Hawaiian shirt. So then we go upstairs. And there's people sitting all together. It's the whole Shortbox crew. And then Crow goes, and then like, just over here like, yeah, you guys, right? But then I got to know them. I got to know Kevin. I got to know Nat. He's like, Gene. I got to know everybody. And they were so welcoming. They were just so loving that, I kid you not, every day they were inviting me to a party. They were just like, hey, what are you doing? What are you going to do today? I was like, go to my hotel room? And they're like, no, let's go to a party. Okay. They were just like, drinks on us, take as many. Don't tell me that.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
And so I'm just having a great time. They made my San Diego experience really great. And then I got to know about their company and what they do. And from that day on, I was just like, and I always do this. I do the same thing with Mike, and I do this with anybody. Do good by me. You do good for me, and I will always do good for you. That was the first thing I told Mike when we first worked on the Marvel cover. You always do good by me, and I will always get you a job. I told the same to the Short Boys crew. I was like, always do good by me, and I will always help you out. I will always give you t-shirt designs. I will always do covers for you. I won't even ask a lot from you guys. I will always do. I will throw everything to the side to help you guys out. And they kept it. And this is another thing too in the business, and I tell people too. I'm a little picky on who I really want to be with friends when you get more into the business, because you want to generally be with people who it's okay to have a beer with than somebody who just sees dollar signs in you, because it's not genuine. Because then I'm just a profit. I don't want to be somebody's piggy bank, I just, even though Marvel probably sees me that.
Oh, yeah, they're a big corporation. You know what I'm saying? It's like big entity corporation. Yeah.
Everybody is that.
For sure.
But these small companies, or other artists I work with, are that I want to generally just go have fun. At the end of the day, I work my ass off. You and me have sat on that table for 10 hours. I want to go get a beer. I want to get some hot wings. I want to just joke and laugh about stupid shit. And if you got some drugs, let's talk. No. And I'm down to clown. But that's just generally, and that has been the Short Box crew for every con. To the point that every time there's a convention, I kid you not, I'm like, is Short Box going to join? Who am I seeing? And I get sad when it's only Kevin and Gene, but Crow can't be there, or Nat's not in here, or and that makes me sad, because then I'm like, I want the whole crew. I want to just be with everybody, because each one of them is just wonderful people. And it's crazy too, because naturally I just go and I tell people, yeah, go to Short Box. Hey, you want some comics? Go over there. Just like, and it benefits each other because it's a natural friendship. That's what it is, right? Because if it was a forced friendship and it was just like, oh yeah, we're just, we're buying you drinks and making us like you, we're going to force you to want to work with us. No, don't force me. Generally I will want to work. And that's the difference too. I've had many people who look at me who just say, I'm going to make money out of you. And I've looked at people who was like, hey, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? That's a big difference. That's the thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, people want to hustle. People want to make their money. That's how they do it. But there's a way you could do it as a proper way to a friendship that will lead to a longer, stronger bond. And then there's just people who's like, here's your one-time payment and that's it, and I don't want to see you again. So,
yo, look.
Oh my God, if they're hearing this, which they know they are going to, because say that I love all you guys so much, and I just want to see your company grow so big, and I know it's going, and it has. It's been showing every year, so I can't wait to see you guys in May. We're gonna party. I'm gonna drink.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And I know one of you guys got some good stuff, so.
Good shit. Yo, big shout out. Like I said, I had reached out to Crow wanting a voicemail, and he went above and beyond and got the whole Short Box team involved. So big shout outs to all of them. Big shout outs to Gene, Nat, and Kevin and Crow as well. And Zach too. Like I said, I had reached out to Zach. Zach was a big reason why you're even on my radar. So I think with that said, I think we're in a good. You had to try to warn me. Actually, I was like, "Hey, I just need an hour of your time. I know you're busy. The interview will be quick." And you were like, "Potter, I can do 3 easy. 3 hours easy." And you were not. Yeah, you were not lying. But I know how busy you are. I think you have provided some great stories, especially in terms of advice and gems when it comes to working in the industry and insight. I mean, seriously, Marie, you got one hell of a head on your shoulders. Like I'm excited to see what you do. And with that being said, do you have any closing remarks? Do you want to say anything to the listeners, to the fans? Like, do you have any projects on the way? Like, in closing, what do you got for us?
What I got for you guys?
Show me that business salesman, the Wolf of Wall Street. I got to figure out something. It's like the Wolf of some comic book something.
Right.
The Wolf of the Baxter Building.
The Baxter Building. Well, I mean, what can I say, guys? To those who are listening, who've been following me since day one, since I was doing itty bitty work, before Marvel. Thank you. Thank you so much. I told this to everybody, and they'll always tell me, no, it's your art. And I said, nope. I would not be here without the people who believed in me, who showed the support, who've shared my work. It is because of you guys I am here. And thank you for everybody who stopped to hear my stories. Want to get more involved. Bring me a beer or two. Thank you. I appreciate that. It always helps out. And to all the young artists who follow me or want to be inspired, or don't give up. Don't give up. I kid you not, you are going to go through a bunch of obstacles. Life is difficult. You have to do shitty things. You got to work with shitty people and shitty managers, and you got to pay your debts, and it is hard. I barely started being in the industry since I was 28 years old. I get it. Everybody is now in the mindset, you need to hustle young, and you gotta be there at age 19. Sometimes life does not work that way. And sometimes you have no control of it. But that doesn't mean you should stop believing in yourself and think that it's over. It's never over. Some of the greatest people have started at age 45 in the industry, and it happens. Some people started at 60, and it's fine. It takes time. But like I tell everybody, have the pure determination and the passion for it. If you do not have the passion or determination, this is not the career for you. It will break you. It is not nice to people who are very soft. But that doesn't mean you have to be hard. It doesn't mean you got to be an asshole. Like, fuck everybody, I'm the lone wolf. It's only me. No. It just means that you got to learn to have a tough skin. And shoulders up high, back, just everything. You got to pop out your chest like you're a gorilla. But every day, and then love the little things that you accomplish. You got a cover, great. You got an interior, great. You did an anthology, great. Little things will lead to big things. That's just how it works. Just because you're not working for Marvel or for DC, that doesn't mean you're not. It just takes time. It really does. Time is the greatest help and the worst enemy. So like I said, have the passion, have the desire, work your ass off, tell yourself you're a god. Tell yourself that you are meant to be in this industry. If you see me sitting at my table and you want to be in that table, tell yourself it's possible. Nothing is possible. I've always told myself this, and I will tell you this too. If you want it, you will will it, and if you will it, it will be yours. But it is a true desire to have it. And I believe in you. I believe you more than anything. And if anybody's listening to, if you need any advice, if you need materials that I use or have a question or two, always shoot me a message. I'm always here to help. I might take a long time. Might not answer those emails right away.
Yeah, if you're in an emergency, maybe reconsider. But
you out of jail.
Yeah. If you got some time, hit her up. Man, Maria, that is so encouraging, and I'm so pumped, and all I'm doing after this is going to eat dinner, but I'm going to eat dinner like it is my sole purpose in life. You are so inspiring. All right, really quick, shameless plug wise, what is the next convention that people can see you? I think this episode will come out sometime like early or mid-March, so keep that in mind. And then what is the next cover or comic book that people can find you on?
Whoa, what have I been working on? Okay, so I've done a bunch of covers. So if nobody knows, I haven't done DC work for about a year or two. I just got a bunch of them.
Oh,
so
cool.
if anybody's into the April Fools, DC's doing a little thing with all the apes of DC. So I did 7 covers of monkeys.
Wow. Oh, the apes of Fool. Okay, that's cool.
April Fools. So I said, okay, trying to be clever. So I got 7 of them. They'll be coming out in April. I just did Dr. Doom. I did the Spider-Punk you saw. I'm working on a Werewolf by Night. I just did Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Wow.
Man, I just have so many of them. Like, it really is a lot. I'm doing another Werewolf one. I'm working with Tim Seeley still. And the convention, the first one of the year that I'm doing is Kansas City Planet Comic Con.
Awesome.
And I'll be posting soon all the conventions I'm doing. I'm just, right now I'm trying to do more work than media, which I should not be doing. I should be doing both of them. I'm everywhere, guys.
Delicate balance. Well, look, I've got you covered because I'm going to have links to your socials, to the Inky Knuckles website. I got you covered. It'll all be in the show notes. So if you are someone that's listening, that's interested in giving Maria a follow, which you should. I mean, she posts amazing content, and you get to see all of her covers normally first before everywhere else. Give her a follow. That'll be in the show notes. But with that, Maria, this has been fantastic and absolutely worth the wait. Like, seriously, this interview is worth the wait.
Thank you for being very patient.
I thank you big time.
People, look, you gotta wait, but you'll get the best out of it.
You are right. Well worth it. I hope to catch you at C2E2, and I'll be in touch, man. This is great.
Oh, thank you again. Thank you, everybody.